All right, guys, I'm here with Madcap. We just got done with watching Zack Snyder's magnum opus, The Snyder Cut on HBO Max. We have a lot of thoughts. One, because it's a 4-hour fucking movie, which was exhausting to say the least. And we got to watching it later than I wanted to, so I'm sorry if the stream's a little late. I was kind of hoping we'd start at like 5. So there's going to be a late stream, but there might be a part 2 if we can't cover all of it tonight, because I don't think this is going to be a 5-6 hour stream. It'll probably just be like 2 or 3 hours, and then we could talk about the rest of the movie later. Bro, I'm at part 2 of this shit. Please send help. Thank you for the super chat, man. Good way to start the night. Madcap gets his cut, which is 50 cents. All right. I have some notes. So we'll start with the beginning. It starts with, and everyone let me know how the audio sounds, because we're testing out this new setup with this microphone here. So if it's not loud enough, you guys can tell me in the chat. So it starts with presented in a 4:3 aspect ratio to retain Snyder's vision. Right off at the bat, that put me in a bad place. Didn't you feel so, Madcap?
Yeah, it's just like, okay, as soon as that title card played out, like you kind of already know what you're gonna expect out of this cut, because really, um, well, I guess you should definitely go on to see how this movie starts out.
Yeah. So that was a bad sign, because no fucking way did Zack Snyder want it in a 4:3 aspect ratio to retain his vision. I don't believe that for a second. I think he did that to hide the bad special effects, because
Yeah,
he wasn't going to release this movie in 4:3, and neither Man of Steel or Batman v Superman was released in that. So I mean, it's kind of obvious that they did that because there's some dodgy CGI throughout the entire movie. So I don't buy for a fucking second that they did that to retain his vision. Like right at the end, they start with just this pretentiousness. I mean, just the beginning to retain Snyder's vision, which I'm sure like the Snyder fans were just like, "Oh my god, 4:3," which was one of the worst parts about the movie starting off. I mean, I have a 50-inch television in my living room, and it was a fucking box. Like, not cool. I see that Slav has joined us and Dragon has joined us.
Yeah, the
welcome.
aspect ratio. Sorry, I'm hearing. I'm gonna. I'm in the stream and I'm hearing my voice repeat.
You gotta mute the stream.
Okay,
You just
so
gotta do
that's
the
better.
Discord audio.
That's better. I'm wondering if the aspect ratio could also be because like that's the normal aspect ratio of an IMAX before they crop the footage for widescreen. So I'm wondering if he filmed it thinking it was in widescreen, but then realized it was in that aspect ratio. That's an out of my speculation, though.
So
The
then
CG, sorry.
so then the next thing that freaked us out was that I think this was a big thing of this movie is trying to figure out what was deleted scenes and what was scenes that were reshot later. And I think I have a pretty good idea of what those were. But I think this had to be a deleted scene. So early on, you have where Ben Affleck's Batman goes to find Aquaman, and there's a scene where he goes to take like off his coat and his goggles and his mask, and it looks like he messed up going for the goggles, and then he reaches his hands down to take the mask off. And if you don't pay attention to it, you're gonna miss it. But it's clearly in there and fucked up. Like he clearly made a mistake there. So I think that was a deleted scene, and that immediately had me worried. There's also a Bat credit card in this movie, which surprised me, which comes up at one point. So we weren't enjoying the first like 2 hours,
No.
2.5 hours, maybe. I don't know quite. Like I kept hearing that this movie was just the Joss cut, but like extended with extended deleted scenes or extending scenes. And for the most part, that's what it was. For a good chunk of this, it felt like they just padded out scenes. Like the Almascara action sequence with Steppenwolf goes on for fucking ever.
It does.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Especially when it goes into the sea and she's just staring at the sea for 2 minutes straight.
It's like 25 fucking minutes. It's insane. There's so much, it's such a weird vibe in this movie, like the pacing of it. And they took things out, like they took out the opening credit sequence, which I thought I would like, but I kind of missed it. It was strange. The whole like yeah, where's the pretentious Zack Snyder opening credits sequence? So immediately, like, what I didn't dig was that the movie felt sloppy. There was too much going on. They were jumping around a lot. There's like 25 characters in this movie, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, you're following like Batman recruiting someone, and then you jump to Lois Lane, then you jump to the Amazonians, then you go to Atlantis, then you jump to Cyborg's story and his father. Then you jump, and the scenes go on and on. Like there's no story flow. It's not like a scene sets up something, and then the next scene is like the causality of that. Like it, you know what I mean? Like you set up storytelling beats. The movie jumps around a lot. So I kept like trying. I was having a hard time focusing on what the fuck the movie was. Like, is this about Batman recruiting the Justice League? Is this about Steppenwolf trying to go back the dark side? Is this about like Superman being dead and how everyone feels about it? Is this about Cyborg's relationship with his father? Is this about the Amazonians? I mean, there was like so much going on with that it became very like, quite honestly, boring. Me and Madcap both had to drink a cup of coffee at like 9:30, 10. I made us some espressos. There was one point that I was fucking around on my skateboard in my living room floor because I was so bored. Like, I tapped out. You know, I was ready to hear Madcap snoring. And so I got really worried. It was pretty rough. So my next note, deleted scenes and everything drags on. I think that summarizes it pretty well. The whole thing about like, this is Snyder's new vision. This is great. This is what you want. Like, for a big chunk of this movie, none of that makes any sense. This is not like Snyder's new vision. This is quite honestly like the same fucking movie. I'd also like to say before we really go into this that I am not associated with Geeks and Gamers. And I do not support his white supremacy, and having Asian friends, I take that very seriously right now, and I think it's a time for us to come together. So I'd just like to make that statement before we carry on. I am not associated with Geeks and Gamers. I've been on a live stream with the guy once, but Jeremy's white supremacy is not representative of Please Rewind and what we stand for. We are
no hate.
We are a black supremacist organization. So I'd like to just make that clear before things go a little bit deep here. Jeremy's still on white supremacy. I'm down the fucking road. So I'd like to talk about some scenes that me and Madcap had some interesting things of. The Flash hot dog sequence that I don't know if that was... we'll have a poll here in the Discord. Do you guys think that was a deleted scene, or do you think that was a reshoot? Because I feel like that was a reshoot. What do you think?
I saw parts of that in the original trailer. I could be wrong.
Do you think they added new scenes, though?
The very end with Martian Manhunter, yes.
No, not that. I mean, in that Flash sequence.
Oh, and just in the Flash sequence.
The hot dog sequence, yes.
I don't know. Do you think so? Or does anybody else?
I have no idea.
This sequence was very odd to me. This was the Quicksilver sequence for this movie. So Flash is trying to get a job to help his dad or make his dad proud. I don't know what the fuck was going on with that.
Yeah, I think it was drawing money for his tuition.
Yeah. So he wants to be a dog trainer. And he sees a girl that he likes, and then this guy driving a truck is eating a sandwich, and he's reaching for it on the ground, and he's not paying attention. He's gonna hit this beautiful young woman, and the Flash notices this is gonna happen, so he runs so fast that he rips out of his shoes. This happens in the movie, and he runs to her, and there's like a hot dog cart, and all these hot dogs shoot up. So we get this slow motion sequence that's like the Quicksilver scene, but it's not funny. It's like an emotional. I put down Flash music video ?
Yes. Yeah. There were two scenes where there's a music video. Like, it was like, Snyder, slow the fuck down, dude.
Yeah, the Snyder needle drops are very weird in this one.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's trying to do the whole David Fincher thing, kind of like what he did in Minecraft or Minecraft,
Minecraft, yes. He's trying to do the Peter Jackson thing. He's trying to do the David Fincher thing. He's trying to do the Christopher Nolan thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't Nolan a producer or an exec on this movie?
I don't think
No,
so.
I know for the original cut he was.
he
I
was.
saw his name in the opening credits.
I
was
know
like,
he was a producer for Man of Steel. I
and
think he
BVS.
came up with the idea.
I mean, he's as much as a producer as he is just a name on the credits. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I might have missed it.
I mean, Ethan Van Sciver's in the credits.
Everybody's just in the credits.
I would like to say that Please Rewind is not associated with Ethan Van Sciver. I was on a live stream with him once. We do not associate with Ethan Van Sciver. I'd like to make that very clear right now. I think in this time of sensitivity that we need to come together, and I'm not associated with Ethan Van Sciver.
But Pat, did you have an Asian daughter at any moment in time?
Several. I've considered
Makes
adopting more right now, honestly. I'm in a very emotional place right now. This movie made me weep. It made me come. It made me feel things that I haven't felt in a long time. So the hot dog scene, I really want to break this down. I know people are like, let's talk about all the other shit. We really got to break down this hot dog scene. So the hot dogs are flying in the air slow motion, and Flash grabs a hot dog. Now, I thought he was going to stick it in the girl's mouth. Don't ask me why I went to these places. But I suggested this to Madcap, and he kind of looked at me for a second like he was going to leave. And it was awkward. And I would like to say that I am no longer associated with Madcap here at Please Rewind. I think in this time...
he's associated with...
I think
he's
in this time of
associated with
fate,
you.
we have to come together.
He's not even here. He's just here, but not here.
Yeah, he's here, but not here. But I'd like to say we're not associated. He's sitting right beside me, but we are not associated. So, the fucking hot dogs, man. What the fuck is this? So, then he grabs the girl. He's barefoot because he ripped his shoes off by running so fast. So, then he saves the girl, looks at her for a second, then he acts awkward and runs away. I don't know why the scene's in the movie because this girl doesn't come back in. I don't know if it's like Barry Allen can't make a connection. Whatever. So he then uses the hot dogs to feed the dogs to impress the lady who was going to hire him after he just broke a glass window by going to flash speed and ripping his shoes off. So that scene that caught my attention. That wasn't
He also stole a hot dog.
Yes, that was not in the Joss Whedon cut. So that was a big change. I hope the Snyder fans are happy. I think that's what they wanted in this movie. I think they wanted the Flash to run his shoes off and to get a hot dog.
Yeah, I was with you on the first half of the movie. I'm just like, holy shit, dude. I mean, we were having trouble just tracking time of things because we're just here watching this movie, and people are talking about it, and people are giving this like a pass because it's Zack Snyder's vision. And I'm just like, what the fuck did you guys see in this movie? And by the time when that happened, that was like with the Flash scene, that was like the eye opener for me. I was just like, what the fuck is this? Because yeah, the fucking truck hits the car with the girl, and then the hot dog cart is like letting loose hot dogs, and then you get like, yeah, it just turns into a music video, and then Flash breaks out and tries to save her, and then there's all this hot dog meat flying out. It's just like, what the fuck are you saying, Zach? Like, what is this shit that I'm seeing? And to cap it off, like, okay, well, how the scene starts out, it just feels there are a lot of shit in this movie that reminds me of like the Transformers movies. Like the fucking Steppenwolf has like a little spider doctor thing that like projects images from your mind, same way that how Megatron tortures Shia LaBeouf in Transformers 2. And then Barry Allen is out looking for a job. He's making a complete ass of himself that I wouldn't do. And if you if anybody here saw Transformers 3 and that's how you can get job interviews, congratulations, you're like the biggest fucking idiot. And then yeah, just to cap it all off, like it bookends with Flash saving a girl, and I recognize this actress. She's from Dope and a couple other things I've seen her in. Very cute looking actress herself. Very
Oh,
cute
yeah.
looking lady. So yeah, that character never. I would like to see more of this character, but she never comes back for the rest of the movie. And um, so Barry like goes back into the pet shop, and in a joke that does work on like is a joke that I'd be all for and buying, but considering what's come prior, I'm just fucking baffled. I'm just like, I have no idea what the fuck I was watching or what the fuck the movie was saying. I'm just like, and that was like the big eye opener for me of like, holy shit, this is gonna be a disaster for the rest of the movie. So I was just like,
Things didn't start well.
mhm.
Things didn't start well at all. And my next note is too many characters. So this was a big issue, and the Transformers comparison is very apt. In particular, the Transformers sequels, where like Megatron always has some plan and some MacGuffin, and he has conversations with other bad guys in the Transformers movies, and then we just jump to different locations without like a context, and it doesn't make any sense. So I'm not. Maybe it was too complex for me. I was fucking confused for a good 2 hours in this movie. I didn't know what was going on.
Mhm.
I didn't know why people were doing what they were doing. And I said at one point, I'm like, you know what I'd really like in this Justice League movie? The fucking Justice League. I'd like to see those characters in a Justice League movie. Where's Barry Allen? Where's Aquaman? Why are we spending so much time with these like people that I don't know or don't give a shit about? Why do we see Batman recruiting people and then there's like a good 45 minutes where we don't see Batman or Wonder Woman or any of them for a good chunk of it? So it was very confusing to me why he kept a lot of these scenes and didn't edit them out. So just to give you a timeline, we were 2 hours in and I was done. I was like, this is back to Man of Steel. This is worse than Batman v Superman. This is a fucking disaster. I don't know why this is getting good reviews. I don't see a lot of reshoots here. This all seems like the same movie, just with longer scenes. I will say, though, positive. I was digging the Steppenwolf character much more than I did in the original cut. I actually think that Steppenwolf's motivation of wanting to get back to his home planet, and I think Steppenwolf in particular, I just think he looked better and sounded better. And I was actually kind of just liking the character overall. I think this is the best Zack Snyder villain in the DC film so far.
Yeah, that's unanimous.
So what you're saying is,
it goes without saying that that Steppenwolf, out of all the villains that we had in just the Snyder films alone, where we had Zod and we had Eisen Luthor and the last second of fucking Doomsday or whatever. Yeah, me and Pat were on the same boat, and we found Steppenwolf like it's unanimous that he's the best villain to come out of the Snyder DC films. And yeah, we were just both not really in for the ride. Like, this is gonna be another train wreck because yeah, you pretty much get like a bunch of rearranged scenes from the Whedon cut, but for some reason in those same scenes, there are moments where Snyder for some reason just lets the camera roll for a bunch of shit that could easily be deleted scenes. Like
A lot of fat.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
heavy fat.
Yeah,
That
this
could
is
have
a
been trimmed
this is
out.
a fat piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was
One example.
bound to be
Sorry.
that movie as we were just like halfway through it. Now, one example I could list out is just like when Bruce goes out to recruit Arthur Curry in that fish town or whatever. It ends with Arthur going into the sea, and then for some reason all the townsfolk are like right behind both of them, and some lady just sings like some sort of like
Oh yeah.
sings, like, some sort
Yeah.
of hymn
No, I was
that-
going to mention
that
that.
goes on for a while, and there's no fucking purpose to it. It's just like I'm
It's
just
because,
left
oh
like,
god.
what the fuck is going on? And then you get like the case of like slow motion. Like there's a good
Oh.
5 minutes in the opening that is just nothing but Superman calling out in pain as he's killed by Doomsday.
Yeah, the slow motion Snyder came back heavy on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he
I
fucking
thought Superman was coming.
yeah. No, it looked like that or that he was constipated. That was the slow motion was immediately worrisome. And I definitely agree with that singing scene being really fucking awkward and weird, and I did not understand why it was in the movie. So that freaked me out. I'd also like to focus a little bit here because I think we kind of overlooked the scene. Fuck. I had it, now I just lost it because I'm trying to remember the first 2 hours of this fucking movie. It was God damn it, what the fuck happened in this movie? I swear we watched it.
Yeah, there was plenty of movie.
There was a lot of movie here. I'm just trying to think. There was another scene where I was like, early on. It was the Wonder Woman saving the day briefcase sequence. The slow motion there.
Oh yeah.
And how long that scene went on was questionable.
Yeah, it's just fucking ridiculous because I think, that's another thing. It's just like we're gonna see the fucking same tricks that Snyder pulls off in every one of his movies. It's gonna be a lot of slow motion, and frankly, and obviously there is, and again, it's just going back to fucking 2007 with 300, and like this is 2021, so no, like the slow motion's not that fucking great today.
Yeah.
And
okay, I'll let the
like
room open up. We're only talking about the first half. Do not jump to the end of this movie. So, if you guys want to go one at a time briefly here and tell me what were you feeling when you were watching like the first like 90 minutes, 2 hours. Don't talk about how you felt during the second half of the movie because the second half is where I think there is a lot of new stuff. And the first half, I think, is a lot of stuff we'd seen before. So were you guys bored like us, or were you having a fun time, like in a schlocky, so bad it's good sort of way?
It was, well, it was I would call a dry as sand movie. Like the beginning action scene with Wonder Woman, like that's a prime example. Well, I posted a comparison video with the read-in cut. Like the read-in cut actually, for some reason, the scene is better in the read-in version. Because like, not in the Snyder cut, not only is it like longer, but it's like a lot more just gray and like kind of it felt oddly more boring for some reason. Like
it was boring. I agree. What did you think, Slav?
Obviously it was longer, but also Wonder Woman just started killing people like left and right. It was really strange.
Yeah.
I didn't really appreciate that, but I mean, I guess if she's a known killer within the rest of the DCEU, I don't know if that's a fair criticism.
I mean,
but other than that,
the original movie was nothing but killing conscripts.
Yeah, this movie's oddly violent.
Yeah,
She kills with
it
love.
didn't need to be. See, I'm trying to remember that scene because I watched it yesterday. Because quite frankly, after the Flash scene that you guys were just talking about, I stopped watching it. I got bored and I finished it today.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. It was mostly the same in the sense, other than it just being padded. Just a waste of time. It felt like a movie in itself, and it didn't need to be.
All right, Rose, what were you feeling during the first half of the Snyder Cut?
Okay, what I felt the first half, I was just like, okay. I was kind of confused, mainly because of the pacing. Because I know originally the film was supposed to be like a 4-part movie. And I was thinking the reason why the pacing's so slow, and also in particular, the Wonder Woman scene, because that scene it drags on for a while. Except some scenes or some aspects of that scene should have been cut. I thought because it was supposed to be a TV show, and that that theory was more, instilled in me because of the framing of the shots of the movie. It was like a 4:3 framing. I've heard somebody in this server was saying the reason why they did it that way because apparently when you shoot IMAX, it comes out first as a 4:3. Didn't know that, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized this is not TV pacing. I just think he's just terrible at pacing. And like you said before, like a lot of these scenes just should have been stripped down. And also, what I also was thinking at this time was that this is going to be a boring movie, not only because of the pacing, but also because of the tone. I don't know if Zack Snyder. I know he wrote the script, or he wrote like the draft of the script. But
Chris Terrio.
It was Chris
the
Terrio.
script.
Chris Terrio. I'm sorry, Chris Terrio wrote. He wrote the script while Zach, kind of, gave him some, guidelines. But I think honestly, what the Whedon cut has over the Snyder cut is wit. I mean, I know people. Well, people do like the Whedon cut because it's more funny. Or when it first came out, they liked it because it was funny. Yeah, I think that wit in the Whedon cut was definitely missed. It needed that because this, in particular, the first half that we're talking about, there's no like humanity.
And
You know what I'm saying?
dialogue's pretty flat too.
Yeah, like it's
Oh,
flat.
Hmm.
These people are pissed off. I can kind of get it because Superman just died, but at the same time, I mean, like you're not sad all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a very dry, dull, flat, film. And I was thinking to myself, like, damn, dude, like this is gonna be 4 hours of this shit. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, let's
But
be
yeah,
frank.
was not impressed.
Yeah, well, let's be frank. I mean, the world without Superman it's no different from when he was alive. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Wasn't like in the last movie they hated him?
well, yeah, they hate him, but like Superman, he's been totally empathetic about being Superman. So and yeah, the world hated him. So
Yeah, didn't
you
he
still
go to
have a-
Congress to defend himself because they were accusing him of like
Oh,
being
yeah.
a terrorist, and then now the world's weeping for Superman?
Yeah,
Very strange.
He
he
destroyed
also
half a city,
destroyed half a
essentially.
city when he first arrived.
So I wrote down next
Like-
note here. Fuck the world. So there's some fuck in this movie. So there's one in particular at the end, but we'll get to that. So it kind of splits up. Like Bruce Wayne goes. So the way I would have paced and structured this movie is to focus on Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Wonder Woman going to recruit the other Justice League members, and then focused on those characters, in particular Barry Allen and Cyborg's character. I think should have been a focal point of the first half of this movie, and not so much jumping around, because I think a lot of that was padded out and setting up. I don't mind the Steppenwolf stuff because you need to have the villain set up, so I understand that. We need to know what the villain's doing, so I'm cool with him. I don't think we needed, like, honestly, I don't think Lois Lane even needed to be in this movie, or Martha Kent.
No.
But she goes to get Cyborg at one point, and he tells her, like, fuck the world. He doesn't want to help. Cyborg gets a lot of backstory in this movie. We get this thing with his mother dying in a car wreck, which I called 10 minutes before it happened, because obviously that was going to happen. He was a football player in a David Fincher commercial for football.
Yeah, well, we can get from that accident that the driver who was responsible for Cyborg was reaching for his hamburger as well.
Yeah. I think there was some...
You're
I think there
thinking
was
of
some...
the Flash.
No. That was the joke.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. There was definitely some hamburger action going on throughout this movie. Hamburgers and hot dogs, not well represented in this film. Don't know what Snyder has against that. So I would have structured it around that and spent time with the Justice League so they can get together and then fight Steppenwolf and bring Superman back with the game cubes. So, I mean, I'll just be, honest here. First 2 hours, I fucking hated this movie. I thought it was boring. More than anything, it was boring. If it would have been so bad it was good, I would have been fine with that. It was just laborious and like really poorly written, and it didn't make a lot of sense. It was incoherent, and I didn't like any of the characters. I like Steppenwolf okay, and Cyborg started to win me over, and I do get how people were saying Cyborg was going to be better in this version. Cyborg is definitely better in this version than in the Whedon version.
No doubt.
The actor's better in this version. I actually kind of am sold on that actor more now than I was before. I actually think he's pretty good in the movie. I still don't like the design of Cyborg, but they did more with him. He, quite frankly, like, yeah, the backstory was cheesy, but whenever there was scenes with him between him and his father, Miles Dyson, and and kind of his powers and the stuff he could do in this movie. So the first scene that I kind of dug was the first of Justice League team up. Also, Willem Dafoe's in this movie for like 2 scenes, and it's really weird. So,
for a teaser for a movie that you already got.
Yeah, so there's a fight. There's that fight in like the sewers that's in the other cut. I didn't hate this sequence because it was the Justice League fighting, and this is extended. There's a lot of music changes in this movie, and for the most part, I think this scene was an improvement over the Whedon one. Just because it had a little bit more drama to it, and I think the geography and just kind of why they were there and what they were doing made a little bit more sense than it did in the Joss Whedon cut. I still don't think it was very good, mind you. Let me make that clear. This wasn't a good scene, but the movie had been so boring up to that point that it was the first time the movie wasn't as boring, is the way I would put it. But I was not, and then the movie went back to being boring again immediately following this. I don't even know how to approach the next part of this. I'm embarrassed. I'm humbled. I don't know how to even say this because of the other live streams that I did before this and what I've said over the last few years, but I have to be honest on this channel. I don't want to be biased, and I don't want to I'm worried I'm going to lose subscribers over this. So I would like to preface this, that I think because the first 2 hours are what they were, maybe it affected how I felt a little bit. It's hard to say. I mean, Madcap's looking at me like, it's like, who's going to jump on this fucking grenade? I love this movie. I think the second half is the best Zack Snyder movie since Watchmen. I think the stuff that were reshoots is genuinely good for the most part. It's not all of it. I think pretty much once they decide to bring Superman back, and I will explain this. The problem with the movie before is that it jumped around a lot. The moment that they decide to bring Superman back, and Steppenwolf shows up in the cube, that sequence, then the movie starts to have scenes that follow up with each other like a movie. It starts to become a movie and tell a story. It takes over 2 hours for this to happen.
Yeah, and even before it happens, it was still crossing itself between, okay, this is going to build to somewhere, but okay, this is typical surreal Zack Snyder, because once when they bring out the Xbox to resurrect Superman, and Cyborg has to use his mainframe to dig into the Xbox, it goes into some surrealist Zack Snyder shit that you're familiar with from Batman v Superman. Like there's a dream sequence where you see an event where I think we're supposed to know a future with Darkseid already on Earth, and he's with each of the Justice League members accordingly. And I will say, yeah, that's another case of just excessive Zack Snyder dream sequence factory. But
bad editing too in that sequence. It was very confusing that Cyborg was having these nightmares where Wonder Woman's dead in the future, and Superman's evil because Lois Lane dies. So it's going back to that Batman v Superman thing, that Lois is the key, and that we're gonna end up in some apocalypse with evil Superman, and these characters. So I mean, we were tuned out of this fucking movie. I mean, we were. Both of us were. And then, as soon as the Superman scene happened, refights the Justice League, I like that scene in the Joss Whedon cut. I really like that scene in this cut. I think it's better.
Yeah.
It's longer. It doesn't have the stupid grabbing Batman saying, "Do you bleed?" bullshit. And he throws them. They took that out. It actually ends a lot cooler. Steppenwolf shows up after that, and there's a pretty cool sequence with him taking the cube and killing Cyborg. Well, Cyborg's father sacrifices himself. At that point, it was confusing to me. I said, this is weird. This is starting to feel like a movie. And I started to really like Cyborg in particular. I thought Ben Affleck's Batman started to get a lot better. So then they cut back to Smallville, and I looked at Madcap, and I go, oh, fuck. Here we go. He had something going here. And it's going down to shit again. But, actually, I will say to my pleasant surprise, the entire final action sequence, the new version, and I don't know how much of this is deleted scenes and reshoots. I think there's quite a bit of reshoots mixed in with some deleted scenes. I really dug it. We both were digging it. We were digging. I mean, I hate to say it. I don't know what to say. It's just what it is. I dug the drama of it. I like the music. I like the action. I like the Batman, that there's a clear goal in the action. Batman's driving and they're all trying to protect him in the Batmobile. I like the fight with Steppenwolf. I think there was very clear stakes. There was tension with the GameCube and the Flash running. It was the first time the Flash was cool in the entire fucking DC universe so far. I like the Darkseid's gonna come. I mean, there's a lot going on. It really works. Like Cyborg's at the cube. Flash is running and they have to hit this marker. Batman's like taking dudes out. Wonder Woman, Aquaman are actually like useful and fighting, and it's some really cool stuff. I cared about what was going on. I was invested in the movie. It felt like Zack Snyder was reinvigorated as a filmmaker in a way that he hadn't been in a long time. I wish Batman v Superman and Man of Steel had been more like this. It wasn't just crazy, shaky cam, nonsensical action. I thought the action was very clearly staged, and you knew what was going on for the first time in the entire movie. So out of nowhere, it became a different movie. It went from like a completely boring movie to like a really entertaining like B movie, and I mean that in a totally positive way. Superman showing up in the black suit, I thought was a pretty hype moment. I liked it. I like that he burns his fucking horn off Steppenwolf. I like how brutal it is. This movie, once again, it's got some brutal shit in it.
Yeah, it sure does. It
There's
was shy away.
Yeah, there's some impaling. So then that sequence happens and it's like, holy fuck. And then there's this weird scene with Flash that's supposed to be emotional where he's talking to his dad and he's like reversing time, and that was also confusing and weird to me. But I said to Madcap at one point, and I believe this, and I will say this to Zack Snyder, and I will say this to the Zack Snyder fans. I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder. I gave up on Zack Snyder a long time ago. I've insulted him as much as I possibly can. In that moment, I felt the emotion of his dead daughter. I felt a man who got a second chance to do something. And for the first time in a long time, and maybe the first time ever for him, I felt like Zack Snyder had a heart. And I think there was actually something really powerful about him getting to do this last sequence and getting to change things. I think the first half of the movie, I don't think he changed much. I think they just added a bunch of deleted scenes and you could have cut an hour out of the movie. I think in the second half, I think that was the Snyder Cut. I think that was the HBO Max factor. I think that was where a lot of the money went, where they did stuff. Clearly, you can tell when Ben Affleck's in a reshoot and not in the original version of the movie because he looks like a different person and he sounds different. I was digging that stuff. We were both into it, and I was like, Snyder's going to fuck this up. This isn't going to work. Then they cut off Steppenwolf's fucking head. It's the most heavy metal thing I've ever seen. The head goes into a portal. Darkseid steps on it, looks at the Justice League. And then we get, like, a really long fucking epilogue. Like, the epilogue's its own fucking movie. And all of this looks like a fan film, but once again, to my embarrassment, I liked all of that stuff too. I like seeing Superman as Clark fucking Kent. We both said, where the fuck was this Snyder this whole time? We also said, like,
yeah,
like I ship Snyder now. Like, I'm all on board. Like, I'm a fan now. Can we get more Snyder DC? I hate saying this, but it's true. This is the first time after WandaVision, after seeing that, this is the first time I feel like DC has an edge on Marvel. I'm actually more excited about more DC content than I am to see more Marvel content right now.
Yeah, because after that second half, we were kind of leaning towards WandaVision, despite how much we kind of criticized the hell out of it in our last stream, and we were like giving that movie, I mean not movie, giving that show like a level up from the Snyder Cut so far. But when it gets to Superman's resurrection and pushing Steppenwolf further and further, especially when he gets the final Xbox, and the emotional resonance you get from Cyborg and his dad, and then the Justice League finally come together. Because here's the thing, I was a Snyder hater, not for reasons just to hate on him. It's just like, I hated Man of Steel, and Batman v Superman has semblances of a good movie somewhere, but it's still a myriad of problems carried from Man of Steel. Because for a long time, I feel Zack Snyder is the kind of guy that that could handle Batman, and he's not a very good guy to handle Superman. He's not a very good choice for Superman. But with as much bad will he's left from DC, because it seems like he almost killed it for good until the following movies that come out that kind of boosted its brand higher than Zack Snyder did. This is without a doubt his best movie since, the amount of entertainment I got from watching Dawn of the Dead. I'm not really a huge fan of 300, but I do enjoy Watchmen quite a bit, even though it does have its problems. Um, this is the first time where I felt Snyder got DC correct. He, because from what Pat was saying about how impacted he felt about losing his daughter, it seemed like he was given a second chance, and it's great that Warner Brothers, even saying this in hindsight now, that he did get the second chance to get his vision finished. Um, and yeah, because I'm kind of contained myself as well because how surprised I was watching the second half. It just it really just blew away WandaVision, like just
It's down the fucking road.
down the fucking road indeed.
And the thing, here's the thing, man. Like, this is the way to put this in perspective, okay? Like, a lot of the stuff that this movie did in the second half is stuff that Marvel just would never do, except excluding maybe Infinity War, with some of the darker elements and just like being goofy and embracing it. And just the I don't wrong. I didn't like the Lex Luthor Deathstroke scene because it's pointless. But Ben Affleck's in that lake house he gets at the end of the town, and Martian Manhunter shows up. And the final fucking scene of this movie, even though I still don't like Jared Leto Joker, and that was clearly shot in a garage, it looked like a fan film. God damn if I don't want to see that movie, if I don't want to see Mad Max Batman. And the moment where Ben Affleck's bringing some heat in that scene. He's going back to O'Banion in Dazed and Confused a little bit, where he's just like, I'll fucking kill you. And it's like, God damn, what the fuck is this? Like, bring in some heat. And just evil Superman showing up, and now they're all like, oh, fuck. And all the stuff I thought looked stupid in Batman v Superman, all the shit that I thought looked fucking retarded, all the stuff I didn't like about Zack Snyder so far, this was the first time I kind of got what he was going for, which is these alternate timelines and this dark future that Batman not only is trying to avoid, but he contributes to by the fact of being Batman, that he's not willing to make a sacrifice. And the dropping the Robin reference of the boy Wonder dying, I don't know, it's just like, it was comic book shit there. That's like Elseworlds Tale stuff. Or Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was much more comic booky than I was expecting. It was the first time Ben Affleck was really bringing heat as Batman to in a long time, and it made me actually want Ben Affleck. And he looked great at the end. You could tell that he wasn't alcohol Ben Affleck anymore. He was like thin, and he looked really good. And I was like, God damn it! I kind of want more Ben Affleck Batman. But this was the first time what Snyder was going for. To me, when Martian Manhunter showed up, and the way this wrapped up was the first time that the DC universe felt like a universe. And not a mess of movies. I actually felt like I kind of understand now how these characters could interact with each other. And even if Snyder doesn't get to work on anything after this, I hope they embrace some of these elements and how it was sort of done here at the end. It's almost like at the very end, he kind of figured it out. And unfortunately, it took him this long to get here, and it's unforgivable. But I really feel like, in particular, like the last 30 minutes, which is not the majority of a 4-hour movie, mind you. So I want to say that again. I think because the first half was so bad, it did affect this. But I had so much fun watching this in the second half. I really like the ending. I like Batman saying fuck. I don't care if it's Frank Miller. I'm the goddamn Batman stuff. I liked it, and Madcap liked it too, and we had a fun time when we were enjoying it. So you guys can call us crazy, but I'm gonna say this. I said the Snyder Cut looks like garbage. I've shit on Zack Snyder. I don't take back any of the things I said.
Same here.
But I will say to the Snyder fans who really wanted this and fought for this, even though I don't associate with any of them, because I think we need to come together right now. I was surprised. I think Zack Snyder actually did something here. That since we've been in this whole streaming era, COVID and everything, that was definitely the coolest thing that's happened so far with something going straight to like home video. Like I'm not gonna rewatch this movie because of the first 2 hours, but those
Yeah.
scenes that I liked, I'm gonna watch on YouTube, like for sure. And I don't know what else to say. I just have to be honest. I could fucking lie about it, but
Yeah, I can see somebody on the chat said that the Martian Manhunter name drop was pretty dumb. Well, here's the thing though, with Zack Snyder and how he handled DC. It's like with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, they were so overwrought with pretentious ideas. It seemed like Zack Snyder was overreaching these existential philosophical themes that kind of like it kind of showed that he was afraid to make like a light and fluffy, fun, dumb superhero movie. But watching the second half, and it was hard to get by in the first half, don't get me wrong, because the first half is just like a bunch of random scenes. Much like the issues with Batman v Superman, it just seems like a bunch of random scenes that could be interchanged together, perhaps with the right editors or the right calls. You could make a good flow out of them, but for some reason, Zack Snyder just pads it out for the sake of his vision.
it needs another cut. There needs to
Mhm.
be a third cut of this movie that cuts out all that stuff. That's like 2.5 hours or something.
Yeah, because I think in 2 hours or 2.5 hours, depending on how much we can cut out, there's a lot of shit that's obviously can be thrown on the cutting room floor. And I think, and yeah, me and Pat proposed this. Like, if we had like our own torrented version or our own digital copy of this movie, I think we could work like a fan edit to just like get rid of some of the fat and some of the awfulness of the first half and just make it tie together well in the second half, because the second half is just where you're just kind of like Rogue One a bit, where we were already just watching like
Yeah.
another disaster, and then
That's a great comparison, the Rogue One thing. Like the Tony Gilroy came in and filmed the fucking end of this movie.
yeah, and then for some reason like the reshoots that Zack Snyder had done, and the additional photography or whatever sort of miraculous magic that Zack Snyder pulled out, he came out with a very entertaining action movie. And I think that was my that was the benefit of the doubt I have while I was waiting this, because most of the time I was dreading this because it seemed like people are just gonna eat this up no matter what, and we're just gonna be in the minority saying like this isn't very good. This is another case of disaster from Zack Snyder. But maybe at this time he could probably provide a much more looser and much more fun driven action oriented movie, because the film, like, just as a whole, it is pretentious in a way where this is his authorship, like in
But
full
it kind of
control.
stops being pretentious in that second half. It becomes
Exactly.
like a big
Yeah.
dumb action movie. It stops doing a lot of that pretentious stuff. Like it uh, th- and I'll just say this, like I think the scene where Martian Manhunter says to Batman, like, this happened because of your mother and father, be proud. I think that's Zack Snyder talking about his daughter. And then the end thing where it said for Autumn. And I'm not trying to milk that or get into the sentimentality here, but like there was sort of that element to this movie in the second half. I really feel like he like this is like Zack Snyder's always going to be mediocre and always have faults as a filmmaker, but I feel like he did the best he could do. Like he was actually trying, and that made me very happy that he actually like fucking tried. And even if he failed, like the fact he was just trying, it's like, oh, you almost did it, buddy. It's like it's like it's like watching your kid crawl and then they start walking. I felt like he just made like a small step forward for the first time in years, and it just like I was so proud of him.
Yeah.
And
Or even riding a bike.
yeah, I felt that way. So I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't think you guys probably feel the way we do, but I like even calling it the second half, I don't even think that's probably true. I'd say like the last hour of the movie. I don't know when Superman comes in. I think it's somewhere maybe the last like 80 minutes or something like that. I dig. And looking back on it, I really like Steppenwolf and I really like Cyborg. and I think they probably come out the best in this movie. Where I still have issues with Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Superman. I think they and the Flash. I don't think any of them come out too much better, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's I was pleasantly surprised. I thought that this was just going to be like a shit on this movie stream, and I was ready to do that. I mean, I told Mac at one point, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this stream afterwards because the energy is so low, and I don't even want to talk about this fucking thing. And now I'm like, all right, Dan's not here right now, but if he was, I'd be like, all right, I guess I'm on Team Snyder now.
Yeah, we ventured down to Mount Doom and we came out pretty strong.
Yeah, we're better now. We dropped the ring in, and peace has been brought to the DC universe. So I'll let you guys say what you.
In it?
I'll let you guys say what you think about the second half. Don't everyone talk over each other. So if somebody says something, let them do their point, and then move on to the next guy.
Okay.
Don't be shy.
Okay.
I guess I'll go for first.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, that's a big disagree from my side. I don't really see much different from the second half. From the first half of the movie, I don't know. Maybe for me it was because of the fact that by the second half of the movie, I was basically just like out, and also my head was hurting. I think the slow motion and the snail pacing really took a toll on my nerves. So I wasn't really. I mean, also too, it's just like once we get to the whole thing with we gotta stop Steppenwolf from activating the mother boxes and the anti-life equation. It kind of just felt like this the second half of the Whedon film. Like, I mean, I know some scenes were extended. There was I mean, obviously the Chernobyl scene, it looked different visually, but like it was still the same. I mean, it wasn't completely the same because the goal was a little bit different. Like, I guess like Stephen was like, okay, we need to do this so dark or a dark side can come. But overall, I felt like I was watching the same movie in the second half. I mean, I didn't really like the whole character. I didn't like really any of the characters of the movie. I thought Cyborg. I know they gave Cyborg a character in this film. That's like one of the reasons why Ray Fisher doesn't want to work with DC in the future because of the what they did to his character in the first film. But like, I still didn't really care for his character. I thought he was a pretty bland character. Also, bland actor. What else? I'm trying to think here. Didn't like Cyborg or huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was indifferent. I was indifferent of Cyborg. I'm trying to think of the other character you mentioned, Pat.
Steppenwolf. We think Steppenwolf was greatly improved in this movie.
I remember hearing Steppenwolf talk. I was like, oh, they gave him a character because in the last film he was like a video game boss or something. I did appreciate that, and I also like Steppenwolf's design over his design in the Whedon cut. It was pretty cool. What else do I want to say?
Well, he actually had he actually had a motivation.
Yeah, he had a motivation. Like I said, I like that he was just trying to get back home. You know what I'm saying? In the first film, we didn't know what he was on. We just knew that this guy was gonna kill everybody on Earth, and he wants some mother boxes.
Yeah,
But like the whole thing about him wanting to get home is like, yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, there's some weird like. At points, I thought it was odd. I felt like he had like I like cared more about what he was trying to do than the Justice League. Like, I felt like he had more focus at points where it was like this guy has a clear motivation that he wants to go home, and he actually like had some emotional moments which I wasn't expecting. And yeah, he just kind of like I was very shocked that Steppenwolf wasn't fucking god awful in this movie because I would have thought for sure that was going to be terrible, but it was. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, that's sort of not too far off from stuff that's happened in the past, but...
Yeah,
I mean, he had...
sorry, Rose, I cut you off, but just to add to your
I'll say this and I'll let you talk. But I just wanted to say this, if I'll finish after this. Yeah, he had pathos. I kind of care for him. He's not really... He's still a villain because he's trying to destroy the Earth, but like he's not, motivated by like simple villain motivations, like, oh, I want to rule the world, or I just like to be evil. No, he's just like a guy who's like, hey, I gotta do whatever it takes to get back to my crib. Darkseid said, I don't want to mess with you anymore because you messed up the last time, and maybe if I do this thing for Darkseid, he'll let me come back home, and I can sympathize with that, you know what I'm saying? Or I can empathize with that. So yeah, I think he was a pretty decent character in this film. But that's all I had to say about it.
Yeah. Now to your response, Rose. I mean, if you feel the same way as you did in the first half, that's totally understandable because I think by that point, especially in the sprinkles of like Zack Snyder's visual cocaine on screen, it is kind of a sensory overload. I think probably because they spent like what $300 million, especially under the Whedon cut, and then adding in $70 million on top of that just to bring in all of these deleted scenes and some visual effects that were clearly unfinished. I think perhaps maybe with the right handling, this could be like an awesome looking comic book movie in the way of Infinity War. And
Yeah, the CGI was still bad.
mhm.
That was a big problem. The CGI did not look good throughout most of the movie. I don't know. Let's move on. Slav, what do you have to say?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know I kind of pulled the
I
rug
don't-
out from under you on this, but
oh no, it's fine. Basically, I feel a little bit differently. I feel like it was almost a completely different movie, but not so, because you had that core there of bad guy trying to take over the world, and these dudes got to team together. But I feel like that cyborg part, that really, it inserted itself into the film a lot more, and it kind of changed it for me. That that's just that whole father son dynamic did. So that's good. The whole Steppenwolf part, you guys have all talked about that. So there's nothing too much more I can add on that. Um, I don't know. Maybe just the characters interacting differently. It wasn't Whedon's forced corny dialogue. It felt like, all right, this is some stuff we got to do. Let's do it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Flash
Because
was-
Flash still has like the worst lines.
Yeah, Flash
this
is it's
version.
like it's like, dude, it's cringe.
yeah.
But this movie did get one laugh out of me in the very beginning. I chuckled sort of, where I believe it was Aquaman talking to Batman like on that island, and he's like, so you dress like a bat, like where you come from again? He says Gotham. He says, oh yeah, that shithole. It's like,
Yeah, I
okay.
laughed my ass off at the Batman saying "fuck." That got a big laugh from both of us. That just like that kind of killed me. Let's go into some stuff that we have, because we can talk about Cyborg and that. What do you think? Because my point, the whole thing, when people are saying it's the same movie in the final act there with the weed and stuff, I just feel like it was so drastically different in the way that what the focal point of the final act was, as opposed to the Whedon one. Because we just rewatched it, and that one with like all the red stuff, even little things like the way it was edited differently, like when Aquaman, like when they start teaming up with Batman and the Batmobile and Aquaman, all that. It was like how editing works, like just the change of music and the way it was kind of cut. I just felt like it made more sense what was happening and what their goal was. And that the father set that last cube up the way that he did, the mother blocks the way he did. And so it just like, I just was able to follow it better. And I had like a clear idea of what the Justice League was trying to do and what Steppenwolf was trying to do. Which I also kind of like the part where the Flash like run and he's like hurt and the guy's looking at him through like the laser gun, and then Batman saves him last minute. There was a lot of like people saving each other in this that was cool. There was no Russian family we kept cutting to.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt bad when Steppenwolf died, too. I thought Darkseid was going to kill Steppenwolf, and I thought it was going to be really fucked up that he wanted to go home and then Darkseid just killed him, but they didn't do that. It ended up being that the Justice League kills him together, which I really dug.
Yeah.
And they actually kept, like, I mean, I'll say this, like, the Superman fight was my favorite part in the other movie, but I still think that was good here, and I think now that was more Snyder than it was Whedon, now that I've seen this. And that's one of the best scenes Snyder's just done then, period, as a filmmaker. Like, that's I don't know, it's just like when the movie starts to pick up then, I think, is that sequence. And then it doesn't really, like, kind of... It just doesn't have another terrible scene after that like it does for the first 2 hours. There's no, like, people singing or hot dogs and stuff like that. Like, it just turns into, like, an action movie where the Justice League has to go fight a bad guy. And, I was into it. I mean, I was into it the whole time, like, after that point. And then, like, especially, like... I mean, yeah, once again, Jared Leto fucking terrible, but that last scene, there was something kind of like... There was something kind of gonzo crazy as balls about it. Like, it was fucking nuts. Like, I can't believe that's in a fucking... I mean, I can't believe it. It's insane. Like, and it was just kind of crazy because you know those were reshoots. So it was just kind of crazy to see Ben Affleck as Batman again. Because I thought we would never see Ben Affleck as Batman again. And, like I said, I thought he was bringing a little heat. I thought he turned it up a little bit there at the end. Like, and I was kind of digging it. I was kind of digging that whole, like... I watched Harley Quinn die... You know, there was, like I said, I kind of want to see that movie. The, like, apocalyptic superhero movie with Batman and an evil Superman going around killing people. Like Terminator, like Batman's Kyle Reese or some shit. Like, it was, because it's so crazy. I mean, Marvel would never do that kind of shit. It's like gonzo. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's fucking bonkers, and, like... I kind of dig that about it, that, like, they just, like Warner Brothers was just like, fuck it. Like...
Yeah, definitely fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fuck it. Like, Batman's gonna swear, we're bringing Jared Leto back, we're gonna film this in a garage. I mean, it looked like a fan film. It was amazing. I mean, it was insane. I mean, they showed Deathstroke talking to Lex Luthor, and then they cut to that scene, and he's teamed up with them. I mean, it's crazy. Like, Snyder just threw everything in at the end. He's like, fuck it, I'm putting everything in here. The last, like, 5 minutes is going to be everything I've ever wanted to put in, because I'm not going to get to do this again. And I just can't believe it's even real. Like, a lot of the movie seemed like, okay, I'm not shocked that this is in here. That stuff at the end, I was like, what the fuck? Like, how did this happen? Like...
That sounds pretty awesome.
It was, dude, it was crazy. It was awesome. It was fucking nuts. I mean, Batman says,
if they ever make a sequel,
Batman says, I'm gonna fucking kill you to the joke. And I don't think that was acting. I think Ben Affleck was saying that to Jared Leto.
Do you think he really wanted to kill Jared Leto?
I have no doubt.
Really
You can see it in his eyes. It's the best performance Affleck's given in years. In that, like,
You're saying he goes back to O'Bannon?
Yeah, he looks at he's crazy. He's just there, like, he's like, don't you talk to me. Like, did you ever see Dazed and Confused where he's, like, paddling the kids and he's Ben and he's like a psycho?
Yeah, of course. He was nuts.
He's doing that here. It's that Affleck. It's that
really.
It's that asshole violent, because he's scary in Dazed and Confused. Like, legitimately.
Yeah, he is.
And he says that line in Dazed and Confused. He says to the boys, like, I'm going to fucking kill you. He does. I mean, if he had pulled a paddle out and No More Mr. Nice Guy came on and they all paddled the Joker up against the car, it wouldn't have shocked me. I mean, I was waiting for it to happen. I was waiting for, like, the PH fuck you and just, you know, like, I mean, it would have, if Snyder would have put that in 10 out of 10, that was the only thing that was missing was the Joker getting Mitch Kramered at the end of this movie. That would have put it.
Does this mean that there's going to be a Green Lantern in the sequel if they ever make one?
They hint at Green Lantern at the end of this movie.
Yeah, they hint at a lot.
They do?
Which is sad.
Nice.
Dude, it was like Martian Manhunter shows up. It's fucking crazy. I mean, the end is bonkers, man. The ending is fucking insane. Like, if you actually take a step back and think about it, it's fucking crazy. Like, this is a result of COVID. If the pandemic had not happened and streaming services weren't desperate to get content out and Hollywood wasn't up against a wall, I don't think any of this would have ever happened.
Probably not. It probably would have been scrapped. It would have been in development hell.
Honestly, the ending feels like three endings for three separate movies, because you have the original ending with Deathstroke, then you have that weird, surreal nightmare scene with Joker and Batman. Then you have Martian Manhunter, which is kind of like a build up for like a Justice League sequel.
Yeah.
So it's like Zack Snyder's Lord of the Rings, then, is what you're saying.
Dude, the beginning of he has his Fellowship of the Ring moment during the flashback with Darkseid fighting like all these old heroes and killing your Green Lantern. Then he has his Return of the King 5 ending. Yeah, no, this is his. I was getting kind of Hobbit vibes too, you know, just an indulgent, long, do whatever the fuck I want thing. But I mean, fuck, Peter Jackson didn't have Bilbo saying I'm gonna fucking kill you at the end of the Hobbit, so immediately I'm like,
that's true.
I mean, it made me be like, dude, like it was just like, fuck it, R-rated Batman, let's go. R-rated, like it was the boy. It turned into The Boys, like Superman's Homelander at the end. I'm like, fuck it, make this movie on HBO. Make like an R-rated movie where Superman's killing people and Batman's saying fuck.
Hey Pat, I heard that Ben Affleck might actually return to direct the Batman movie that he wanted to make, or that he was going to make but never made. So he might make that.
I want 5 more
so.
Ben Affleck Batman movies where he's saying fuck.
Yeah. Because Matt Reeves and like Robert Pattinson, they're not seeing eye to eye.
No.
There was a video on Midnight's Edge. There's like some scandal that happened. So I guess the Ben Affleck Batman can happen now.
So they're going to scrap that film?
No, it's done filming. Like
they're going to release it, but I don't think they're ever going to make it again.
The way I see it, just because they had conflict doesn't mean it'll be a bad movie. You know, like Pattinson and Reeves arguing. You know, because I have faith in both of them, and everyone's kind of trying to put the heat on Pattinson with a lot of that stuff. But I just don't agree. I think whatever Robert Pattinson is probably saying is most likely valid. And he is when he. There's people like, oh, he doesn't want to work out, or oh, he doesn't agree with Matt Reeves. I mean, we'll see when it comes out, but fuck it. I think Matt Reeves is unchecked as a filmmaker. I think Matt Reeves is a little overrated. I feel that way. I think his 2 Apes movies are overrated. Big time.
I feel that way too.
And I think Pattinson telling him, like, no, fuck this. Like, I'm not going to just go along with your, like, dreary blueprint kind of screenwriting.
It just looks like, honestly, I'll be honest, I didn't like the trailer. I thought the trailer was kind of like sleepy. You know, I almost wanted to fall asleep watching it. And it just felt like he was ripping off David Fincher and Zack Snyder at the same time.
Yeah,
and
he's
Joker.
trying to do Seven with Batman.
Clearly.
Yeah, I felt that way too. Dragon, what did you think of the second half? We didn't get your opinion on it. Did you like the second half of Justice League?
Well,
I'm sure Dan loved the whole movie.
Well, although I still gave the movie a arbitrary 2.5 stars out of 5, I will agree that the second half was better than the first, because the first was like slow as molasses. Well, I will say I think Cyborg was better in this film, and I guess I think the Flash was better. Although I still didn't feel much any different about this version of Aquaman, even though there was less of the Whedon scenes. The Aquaman movie was I'd probably say a bad movie, but I liked its aesthetics. Hopefully Atlanteans better, but aside from that, truthfully, I think I kind of, because of the first half, I kind of zoned out in the final climactic fight.
We were probably in the same place with you. I think we kind of built each other up there at the end. I think that there was kind of there was some broing going on out there. We became the Justice League, me and Madcap. Because we were down in the dumps. Let me make this very clear. Like, I was prepared to come in here, you know, because one of my issues when we did the WandaVision stream was that I just felt like there was a point that there was almost so like bland that we didn't have enough interesting things to say, and I was getting real fucking nervous watching this movie. I was like, this is Michael Bay Transformer sequels. Like, this is the same shit, where it's just like 3 hours of nonsense, and I mean, I was kind of pissed off. Quite frankly, like, this is a waste of time. Why are critics giving this good reviews? Like, we were reading the reviews and laughing while we were watching it. And then in the second half, it's like, I mean, it's I can't believe it's real. I don't even think I just watched what happened in the last like hour and a half of this movie. I was completely fucking shocked.
Blown away?
Yeah, completely. Like, I can't believe it. I mean, I'm almost thinking like something happened, like something screwed up in the television, and we watched some version of this movie that only we got to see. Like, we got to see the actual cut, you know.
So it's like a 180 then.
It's shocking.
Completely.
It's shocking, and I don't know how I feel about this a few months from now. I would say that if they kept some of the Whedon stuff, like Aquaman setting on the lasso of truth, and just a few things like that, because the dialogue needed work. And if, like, I'll put it this way, if you cut a good hour plus out of this movie, and you just punched up some of the dialogue, I think this would be a pretty watchable movie. I think there's like maybe 2 hours and 20-minute long version of this movie that would be, because a lot of the things I liked about the Whedon version are still kind of in this movie, and then there's things that I like better in this movie, and I kind of wish that they would just mix those things together into one movie. In the Whedon version, I think the pacing is just so much better, and you get to the point a lot quicker, and I wish this movie had that kind of pacing
So
to
what you
it.
want is like a Donner. Sorry. So what you want is like a Donner cut then.
Yes,
it's like,
I want a third cut.
You have the director.
This needs a third cut. This needs like another cut where just some editor gets hired and he just goes in and takes out all the fat. Because
Well, why don't you and Terrible Lizard do it?
we and Madcap talked about it.
We proposed this shit.
I think, well, the thing is, what's annoying about this is that Snyder clearly took the money and reshot a lot of stuff and added new things, and a lot of it's at the end of the movie, and then the rest of it they clearly just added in deleted scenes and padded this out to reach a 4-hour length. This just confirms that the Snyder Cut never existed, which is what I always said to Snyder fans, and this coming out doesn't make it any more valid. There was never a Snyder Cut of Justice League.
Yeah.
There was always this unfinished Frankenstein movie.
Yeah, because
A dream world is what you're saying.
I mean, just in cinematography and composition and framing, I mean, this is a flatter looking movie than Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. It doesn't look any different, except it just has that Snyder filter that is disgustingly ugly about his movies.
Yeah. It didn't look good.
Huh.
That hurt the movie considerably. It doesn't look good. It's a bad looking movie, and I don't think they can fix it at this point because they've spent too much money. But what pisses me off is that they wanted to sell this as a 4-hour epic to like cater to the Snyder fans. And so they did that.
Right.
So they added all this extra shit that they should have just let. Like, there's a reason some of these scenes were deleted by Joss Whedon, because they're scenes that you delete in an editing room. You're like, oh, this is just that extra fat that makes your movie bloated. Every movie has scenes like this that they cut out for pacing reasons. It's just this movie has all of the scenes put back in.
Mm-hmm.
So if they would have kept all those scenes out of the movie, like the Amaskara fight and how long it drags out, just stuff that you just, like the pacing of the action scene is so slow because it's got like, it feels like the action scene's over and then it has like a part 2. And just, if you want to add like the Flash hot dog scene or whatever, the Cyborg stuff, I get it, because you want to give them more backstory. I'm fine with that. But what annoys me is that there was some subterfuge going on here about this being the 4-hour Snyder Cut, and they really just added a bunch of deleted scenes and made this movie fat, where it wasn't really until the stuff that they were doing the reshoots for and he got the money for, you really didn't see a lot of that until really late into the movie. And that's the best stuff in the Snyder Cut is the new stuff with Ben Affleck, is the new stuff some of the stuff he adds at the end. And it's sort of
divorced his wife.
Well,
sorry.
Well, it's just sort of annoying to me that he just didn't. It's like
didn't pursue it.
Well, the fact that he, it's like, okay, so clearly this was going to be another shitty Zack Snyder movie, and Warner Brothers panicked and they brought Whedon in after you see this. And then now he comes back and he actually does some cool shit with it. And it's just frustrating because it's like, Zach, you could have been doing this from the beginning with Man of Steel and we wouldn't be in this place right now.
Yeah, for where I'm at, I mean, because we both enjoyed the movie, for me, just on my opinion on Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, my opinion's not going to change for those two movies because I think they're fundamentally awful movies.
Yes.
And it seemed like even in his strengths, which is surrounded by a lot of awfulness in those two movies, it seemed like he was trying but failing again and again. And with this movie, it seemed like he tried, but he really stuck the landing this time. So it's both a miracle, surprisingly, and a curse.
Uh-huh.
because of all the bad will he's left with the DC brand and with these characters that he tried to handle, that
Yeah.
by the end, because most likely in the future it's unlikely that we're going to get another sequel to Justice League. I mean, I'm hoping maybe there could be some negotiation for more content from the Snyder universe, but I don't really see that
Could be.
happening considering how much money they put in, and Snyder leaving this bad will and then just coming out pretty strong. It's just like it does feel too little and too late.
He did win us back over, though.
He did.
I mean, we have to make that clear. I mean, we didn't want to do this stream. We were embarrassed.
I wasn't really.
No, but like I kind of looked at him and I was just like, we can't go on here and talk about this because, you know, there's going to be two sides of this. This is what I hate about critics and YouTube stuff. Is that there's going to be the people who give this positive reviews that we're going to give it positive reviews no matter what. And I talked about this with Mac after we came in here, and then there's the people who are going to just shit on. Like, I'm sure Mahler and them are just going to say this is terrible and make fun of it for like weeks. And then guys like Chris Stuckman are going to say it's good. And it's going to be this thing where like people are going to be biased no matter what. If they like Snyder or they hate Snyder. And no one's going to like just talk about this movie as its own thing. And that's going to be a big issue. And it's very annoying to me. So that's why I'm trepidatious because, I'm pretty known Snyder hater. So to come in and say, hey, I actually like a lot of this stuff. I think a lot of this is cool. It just opens up this whole fucking can of worms because it just gives the Snyder fans some credence that they're gonna have. Where it's like I told you, and it's like somehow it makes up for Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. Like I don't think Snyder deserved to be able to do this. I don't think he like earned his right to be able to do the Snyder cut or get this. Like once again, I think this is COVID. But I'm surprised that it God, for 2 hours it was like holy fuck. I mean, this really is like this is the disaster I was expecting it to be, and there was just something so disappointing about that. That it was the bad movie I thought it was going to be this whole time, and that was really pissing me off. And then that I ended up actually really digging it was like what the fuck, I didn't expect this to happen, so I don't know what to say. It's weird. It's what I don't like about this. I think people are going to be really unfair on this movie, on both sides. I think people are going to praise it, and then I think people are going to talk bad about it, and I think both people are wrong. I think this is a movie that has some good stuff, and I think it's a movie that has some terrible stuff in it. I don't think it's a movie that's good, and I don't think it's a movie that's bad. I think like Dragon's like 2.5 out of 5. I actually think that's pretty fair. I think it's like a 2.5 star kind of movie. Like it's not quite bad enough to be like a 1 star because it's enough fun. It's like entertainment, but it's not a great movie by any means, but it's also like, it's just not quite good enough as a whole to be just like a 3-star solid kind of movie experience too. It's like a mixed bag movie, but there's going to be people who say this is like the people are going to say this is like one of the worst movies. Like it's terrible. And they're going to attack their views and then there's going to be the people that say it's amazing and that Snyder was great the whole time. And it's just going to dampen the discussion because we're not going to make any forward momentum here with the whole Snyder thing. My only hope is that this does so well on HBO Max that maybe it encourages them to do more risky stuff like this, which Marvel is not going to do. Which
I
would
think
mean
that's
like
been Marvel's
R-rated
biggest problem.
stuff. Yeah, like R-rated DC stuff. And I don't think that would work for every character.
Remember when? No, of course not. But I feel like Marvel, at the very least, back in the old days, like in the early 2000s, you would have like a Punisher or Blade or Ghost Rider. But it just seems like they don't want to do that now with like maybe Deadpool.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that, man. Because I think as Zack Snyder, or actually, I'm sorry, as DC is pretty much like a victim of just auteur excess with Zack Snyder. I think Marvel is just like a victim of its own formula and the safe clinical approach and handling about these movies. Because they have to like generate these movies like one or 2 films a year, so they're strictly just going by that, which means that they're not the ideas that they're pushing for stuff like WandaVision. While there is a semblance of an idea that could be fleshed out into a compelling story, they just don't want to commit to that, or they just don't want to risk it.
Well, that was sort of
Yeah,
the thing.
it just seems like they don't want doing that.
This movie broke formula at the end.
Mhm.
Like at the very end. Like the very, very end of this movie does some stuff that, you know, like, yeah, like the biggest comic book movies just wouldn't do. Which is why I
No,
think
probably not.
the Boys got so popular, because it subverts a
Yeah.
lot of the genre tropes. And I think DC, I think if any of these people were smart, they would notice that The Boys was like the biggest show last year. And that, and I know Patrick Willems made that fucking dipshit video on like, why do we need R-rated superheroes? And I don't know what the fuck he was talking about, but like, it's not even that they have to be R-rated, by the way, too. It's just like,
They just need more of an edge.
yeah, edge, or just
Yeah.
trying different genres, trying different like types of movies.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like an apocalyptic,
Like Wonder Woman
superhero film.
1984 being like a Hallmark movie, being like an over-budget Hallmark movie.
Exactly. That's why I loved Wonder Woman 1984 as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
so with this in 1984, I'm just like on the DC bandwagon now. So it's like, fuck Marvel.
Yeah.
I've officially
Or even
joined
Shazam,
the
where it's like a
DC.
Raimi movie.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing about the film, because you were talking about, maybe this film needs a third edit. Honestly, I think with this film, and the main reason why this film wasn't released the way it was is because there's a lot of this film that you couldn't put in a movie. Like, I don't know how you can keep the Flash backstory and the Cyborg backstory while still having a theatrical film. Because I'm thinking even after the edits of like these extended fight scenes, you will still have a movie that's over 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I think with this film, it's kind of like a very particular thing where, like you say, COVID and HBO Max trying to get, compelling content, because, this film is just, it's just it's in a weird space. I don't think it would never exist.
It's a bit of an experiment.
I mean, like Adult Swim.
Yeah, well, it's an experiment.
Mainstream Adult Swim.
It's an experiment in the sense that, like, I guess what excited me about the end of this movie wasn't necessarily that the movie itself wholly, it was just the potential of what era we could be living in now, where, like, me and him talked about it afterwards, like, man, what if HBO just, like, does, like, television show DC content and not movies? Like, what if they do, like,
Yeah.
6-episode miniseries, Elseworld stuff? Or, like, even when Joker came out and that was different, what if we got more stuff like that? Like, what if, that was rated R?
Or what about Doom Patrol?
Yeah, well, what
Sorry.
if no, I hear you. What if we start getting more like, what if we start getting like multiple versions of these characters simultaneously, which nobody would think to do, because Marvel's kind of made it where you have to stick to this consistency. But what if like we do get a Ben Affleck Batman
You could change
movie,
things up.
then we get the Matt Reeves Batman movie, then we have Jared Leto Joker, then we have Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
Phoenix Joker.
Well, if you
Yeah,
look at them
exactly.
as like graphic novels versus main run comics, which is what comic books are like, which once again, Marvel doesn't really embrace that sort of thing. They stick to like the continuity, but like, if we could get some kind of Elseworlds Tales sort of thing where there's just these one-off movies where a filmmaker,
Or CW shows.
yeah, or a filmmaker could just do whatever the fuck he wants for like
Yeah.
one movie and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of felt by the
And a
end
small
of
budget,
this.
probably.
Because HBO's the place to do that, man. I mean, HBO's been really
It
hurt
probably would.
post Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And especially how
Yeah,
that ended
oh,
like
yeah.
a disaster. And they've tried to launch these shows like The Golden Compass or like that Ridley Scott show Raised by Wolves and
Wolfman.
none of
Westworld.
none of the shows Westworld have really taken off. But if HBO just said like fuck it, let's like just totally commit to this DC thing. I mean, they're talking about rebooting Batman the Animated Series on there with a lot of the original crew. I mean, if they just said like, hey, let's just start like, yeah, Snyder has a home here, but so does James Wan, so
Yeah,
does
but-
Patty Jenkins, and then so does Matt Reeves, and let's
Or
just
Robert
start
Zemeckis.
Yeah, Robert Zemeckis.
If he ever makes a
with the-
Superman. Yeah, Robert Zemeckis Superman movie. It needs to be in the cell of Back to the Future. Where it's optimistic, but it still has an edge to it.
I would have loved Zemeckis Back to the Future Superman back in the day. But I think that what I saw here was a lot of potential, because it was like, this was weird because it wasn't really a movie and it wasn't really a television show. It was like something that would only
in
exist
between.
on a streaming service.
A mini movie.
Yeah.
A mini movie.
Well, it was like because it had 6 chapters, but it's 4 hours, but it's put together like a movie, but it doesn't really flow like a movie, but it doesn't really feel like a television show at the same time. It's like they put the whole
It's a hybrid.
they put the whole binge thing into like one thing.
Yeah.
And it was sort of
Yeah.
like it was new at the end. I kind of got to the end where I was like, well, yeah, I was bored for most of this, but Jesus, it was like, what if somebody made something like this that was 4 hours and it was good, like the whole way through? You know, like
I don't
That
know.
would be pretty cool.
why
I'd be
not
on
make a
board.
4-hour Superman movie? Why not make a 4-hour
I
Green
know-
Lantern movie?
I know a lot of good 4-hour films that I can sit through in its entirety. I mean, even like, you talk about these art films like Tarkovsky or, something like Stalker. I mean, Stalker is not 4 hours, but it's a long film. I don't know, man.
I can't
like,
think of many
Or even
4-hour
the mainstream
movies, to
stuff,
be
Ben
honest with
Hur.
you,
Well,
dude. I could think of a
let's-
lot of like 3-hour movies. I can't think of many 4-hour movies.
Yeah, because
Well,
3 hours.
here's the
That's true.
thing.
They don't
You're on
really
you're
make
on a streaming
4-hour
platform.
movies in theaters because you can't really play a 4-hour movie in a theater. So there's not really a lot of 4-hour movies. There's a lot of 3-hour movies
Yeah.
or like 190 minutes, but like, yeah, Stalker's like 2 hours and 45 minutes. Solaris is like that long. 2001's long. Seven Samurai's 3 hours.
Gone with
You
the
know,
Wind.
The only thing I can think is like Showa's like 8 hours, 10 hours, but there's not really like
Oh,
Das Boot, the miniseries is 5. Fanny Alexander's 5 hours, but that was a television version, not the movie version. I mean, I don't want to make that comparison, but it sort of reminds me of those Bergman things where there's the movie version and then the TV version of his stuff, where there's like a 5-hour version and then there's a 3-hour version. And the 5-hour version doesn't totally feel like a movie. It feels like something different. Because I don't know. I was supposed to say a movie. I think once you reach a certain length, it's hard to call something a movie at a point. I've debated with people about this.
Yeah.
Like me and Blood Money have debated this a lot. Like, does something reach a certain length? Is it a movie anymore? Because
I mean,
if
like
you
you
start
said,
to
it
get to
definitely-
that point, like to 4.5 hours, 5 hours, it's like I don't really know if that's totally a movie. I feel like it kind of becomes something like it's like a genre that doesn't exist. Like we don't have a name for it.
yeah, because it definitely doesn't feel like a TV show.
You wanna call it now? What do we call this type of movie?
Yeah, it's like it's exactly because I've thought about this in the past because me and Blood Money would debate about Showa because he would say that was the best movie of the 80s and I'm like, man, it's 10 hours, that's not a movie. I'm like,
Damn.
and he would say to me
watched
like, what? And I'm like, what is the Decalogue a movie then? Because
Probably.
if something's 10 hours, it's like he's like, what constitutes a movie? It's like I don't because that's you also get into novels. There's like 1,000-page novels, and then there's 200-page novels. So I don't really know. It's tough. It's tough to tell when it doesn't feel like a fucking movie. So,
But see, the thing is, well, you don't have to read it in one sitting. A 10-hour movie, I'm thinking that the filmmakers want you to watch the movie in one full sitting. And how
Well,
do you watch a 10-hour movie in one full sitting without?
exactly. That's how I feel. Like, yeah, it doesn't
Well,
make any sense.
That's why I think the whole streaming service thing is big for that. I think that's
Yeah.
where you can have those 4-hour long movies because you can just stop it at any time you want, as to where movies were shown in theaters. In a theater, you can't really stop a movie. That's why they're usually on shorter than what they could be, so to speak. But then again, it's not like structured like an episode of a TV series either.
it's kind of
So
like a new innovation because
Well,
it's
this is
kind
the
of like
world we're
when in
living
film.
in too, with like
Exactly.
live streaming too. Like we did a
Yeah,
7-hour
yeah.
live stream, right? It used to be if you did a radio show, you had like a block that you had to match, or when television existed, people would time a certain way. Content's like unlimited now with bandwidth, so like you can do a 25-hour stream. Well, what is that anymore? Like you can't call that a podcast. It becomes like something else. Like we are living in a new era where like length is changed and how much you can do with content. And I don't know if we can categorize these things like we used to, because I don't think they're the same thing. I don't think like an 8-hour live stream's the same thing as a podcast or radio show.
Probably not.
I think,
I think it's a new innovation.
I do too.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna.
Snyder fans are onto something. Maybe Zack Snyder.
I know, man.
I know.
Did I just see it's like I just found Jesus. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's like the Joker crucified. It's like I see the light now. I'm sorry that like the Snyder fans were telling me this whole time, like, no, epic. And I'm like, shut up. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, the theater was confining this. I'm like, oh, shut up, you idiot. Now I'm like, oh my God. I understand. No,
Why
I
aren't
mean,
they releasing to the theaters?
I mean, I was baptized by the pure waters of Zack Snyder's Justice League cut. I mean, it was just, I've come out a new man, and it felt new. This was the first time I've seen anything in a long time that I don't know how to even discuss it or talk about it or like say what the fuck it is. Like I'm trepidatious to call this a movie. I don't even know what the fuck to call this thing.
A mini movie. That's what you call it.
It's a shuvie or it's a mo.
I don't know if
Maybe
we
a
I don't know if we
visual
call them
novel?
if we call them streamies. You know,
Streamies?
Maybe.
Yeah,
Well, why not? I
streamies,
mean,
'cause they're
back in the day,
streaming movies.
they had
Yeah.
sound and color. Maybe it could be like that, where it's like films back in the day. There was colored films. There was, black and white. There was sound. There was no sound. You can kind of do the same thing here.
I agree. I felt that. I think that's what made it exciting was that a movie can suck for like 2 hours and then be good for 2 hours. Like it's a weird, like and
Yeah.
it could just be a movie that's slapped together by like 5 fucking people. It's like, who filmed what? What is this? Who wrote what? What are reshoots? What are deleted
But
scenes? It's all
it's the
become a
Rashomon of
blur,
movies.
man.
That's part of the art. That's part of the enjoyment. It's you just trying to figure that
Yeah,
out.
like I spent half this movie. We were talking back and forth. It's like, is this a reshoot or a deleted scene?
Mhm.
I don't know. And people keep telling me they know which is which, and I'm like, I don't believe any of you. I think you're all fucking liars. I think.
I definitely think that Martian Manhunter part that was definitely a
Yeah,
reshoot.
everything at the
Yeah.
end was a reshoot,
Mhm.
except for
Yeah.
the Deathstroke thing. The final scene with the Joker and the final scene with Martian Manhunter, those were all new.
Yeah.
He looked
For
like
sure.
a freaking Bethesda model. He just
Yeah.
looked like a robot.
It was crazy.
I'm actually excited to see this movie,
even how the
because I
movie
haven't seen it yet.
looks, even how the movie looks, it's like I've never seen a movie look like this before. What the fuck is this? Snyder created a new visual style and art form.
Mhm.
I mean, this is like,
Yeah.
it's like when like this is his birth of a nation. I mean, he
God
just
damn it,
changed.
he did it.
He just changed cinema. I mean, he just
He fucking did it,
Birth of
dude.
a Hero.
He did it. Yeah, like
I'm down the fucking
It should be
road.
called
mean,
Birth of a
I-
Hero.
he is down
I'm-
the road. I'm with him now. I'm like, shit, I got to get down that road. Snyder saw the future. It's like I got to go back and rewatch like 300 and shit and be like, wait a minute, I missed something. Like,
I gotta reinterpret this.
yeah, I've been wrong this whole time.
Pat, go to General real quick, and you'll see all of Zack Snyder's his recommended is on HBO, and so you'll see him put his movie right next to 2001 and Blade Runner. And I'm sitting here going,
I think
I'm
I
sitting
think
here
it's
going,
up for
maybe.
consideration. I think this is going to be like Blade Runner, where 20 years from now we're all going to go back and be like, you know what? The Snyder cut. This is his like Ridley Scott director's cut. Like this was the masterpiece that we didn't see originally. Like I think we're living in some weird. Like we're going to be the guy. Like I'm going to be here saying it, and then 20 years from now everyone's going to be like, hey, you were right, man. Snyder cut shit. I see I got a super chat. Someone asked a question. I just want to answer this real quick. I think the question is, what was the longest you've been watched something? It was about 6 hours for me. I'm here for it. I've watched at least an entire season of a television show in one setting. So probably 12 hours, 12 or 13 hours I've watched. Maybe not. I mean, I took like breaks and stuff to pee and stuff, but I think I watched the entire first season of Battlestar Galactica and a couple of other shows I watched like the entire first season of. I mean, I can't like off the top of my, I can't think of them, but like I've binge watched a lot of television shows. When it comes to like a movie, I don't know what the longest movie I've ever seen is. I mean, mostly I think the miniseries, the TV version of Das Boot's like 5.5 hours. I've watched that in one setting, and I've watched the 5-hour cut of Fanny and Alexander in one setting. Those are the only two that come to mind.
Didn't Fassbender do like a 12-hour documentary? Does that count?
Yeah, people have done. There was a guy who made a movie called The Cure for Insomnia, which is like a 27-hour movie or something.
All right, that's a very funny name, but
yeah, and then I think Andy Warhol made like some 4 or 5. He made a movie called Eat, where a guy just eats for like 3 hours.
An Empire.
Yeah, so people have made
Jesus.
stuff like that, but it was usually like experimental. But that's the thing. When I was watching this, I never got the vibe that it was like a movie, but it was also like, if they had done the episode thing like they originally talked about, then I would say, okay, this is like a mini series where it's going to be in parts. We talked about at one point, this reminded me of Inglourious Bastards,
Yeah.
where it felt like a miniseries Tarantino condensed down in a movie. So you're following the bastards, then you cut to some French girl at a theater, and then you just have this whole subplot with Michael Fassbender for 30 minutes in a tavern that it's his own movie for 30 minutes, and then he dies and that storyline's over. And Madcap was like, holy shit, this is Inglourious Bastards. And I'm like, yeah, Tarantino's kind of doing it too, where it's like, it's this weird, it's like you're doing a mini series, but you don't have it like separated in parts. You just do it as like one thing. It's sort of
You
what
just
it
call it
feels like.
chapter, like Zach did.
Yeah, you do
Hey.
chapters, but it feels more like a mini, like Inglourious Bastards felt more like a mini series than like a film, and this felt more like a mini series than a film. But they don't separate it like that. They just put like a chapter up, and they're like, okay, so I guess you could pause at the chapters and continue watching from that point if you wanted to.
If they're gonna do that, maybe they should try implementing something called maybe a bookmark for like chapter selection. I guess
They did actually. They actually did on HBO.
Yeah.
Oh, they did.
That's a good
I
idea.
believe so.
That's cool. Well, if it's almost like these filmmakers start to approach things like they're novels and they're not movies, because I know Tarantino says when he writes his original script, he writes them as a novel, and then he has to condense them down into a script. Like, originally, he writes them and they're like 300, 400 pages long, and he has to make them like 150. So I'm wondering if we can get into some weird era where, like, yeah, directors write yeah, they become more like novels. Like they're like 4 or 5 hours long. Like if you were reading a book and it took you like 6 hours to read the book, instead of being like a film. I don't. That's what like all these things are going around my mind now after seeing this, because I've never really, I don't know what the fuck to compare this to, like a movie that got like what, Heaven's Gate or something. I don't know, like. It's so strange. Like, this movie got made, and then they redid it, and now it's been, like, 3 years later, and they redid it again, and it's, like, it's crazy. I mean, it's, like, and the guy who made it the first time came back and made it again. I mean, it's, like, I can't think of anything else to compare this to. It's nuts. It's, like, the weirdest thing ever.
I want to get Blood Money's opinion on this.
Yeah, I wish he was on.
Oh,
really
I think he
do.
would totally agree with everything. He loved Wonder Woman 1984 like I did. I feel like he'd feel the same way. There's a lot of guilty pleasure going on here, like especially with the second half. Like when I'm saying I really enjoyed it, I'm not telling you like that's a 10 out of 10 movie masterpiece or anything like that. It's just I think I've just gotten so tired of certain things about like genre movies or superhero stuff or stuff that's come out the last few years with blockbusters, and I'm just kind of like, I think I like just kind of the weird insanity of it. Like, it's almost like Zack Snyder didn't belong a few years ago, and now, like, I want a world of I want more Zack Snyder. I want, like, a world of this, like... Because what I used to like about movies back in the day is that movies, like, there's a lot of movies that existed in the 80s and 90s in particular that weren't, like, good movies, but they were just kind of weird fucking movies, like Drop Dead Fred, or, like... Meet the Applegates, that I would watch on VHS that like I grew up with and was upset. And they're like these weird movies where it's like, is this movie a 1-star movie or is this one of the most brilliant original things I've ever seen just because it's so fucking bonkers? And they kind of quit making movies like that. It either became like a studio movie or like some indie film. And we kind of quit getting like just weird movies that it was hard to categorize them, and it was just divisive forever and nobody could really decide the merits of it or not. You know, is it a classic or is it just people are nostalgic or what have you? And like, I feel like this movie's the closest I've seen, and Wonder Woman 1984 to a point too, where it felt like this took me back to like the 90s and stuff like that, where sometimes you just didn't know what you were going to get. And the conversation was so weird about it, you know, and I kind of miss that about movies. I kind of miss that about like things in general, that like you couldn't just say something was good or bad. You really had to talk about it, and you really had to think about it and try to figure out what the fuck even makes something good or bad, or what even like opinion is at some end of the day. And I feel like the Snyder fans have been trying to make some kind of point like that for years, but they're just really bad at their arguments.
Yeah.
But this was the best argument for like Zack Snyder's not good, but he should still be able to make stuff even though it's not good. And I know that sounds weird, but I kind of get it now
Mm-hmm.
in a strange way. Where like I kind of even get Michael Bay a little bit more now too in a weird way. It's just sort of like you should. It's like maybe without evil there can be no good, so it must be good to be evil sometimes. So it's like if we don't have the hack auteurs, then do we not then have the auteurs? So I'll say this is my tribute to all the hacks out there. Like keep doing what you're doing.
Man, you know what I learned from this movie? I learned from this movie that if my child offs herself and that there's a worldwide pandemic, I can make whatever the fuck I want. So I'm just like,
I know.
hey,
I'm
cheers.
considering having children. I really am. I think I got I think this is my only shot to get a movie made. I got some catching up to do.
Yeah.
I'd like to say once again, though, I do not associate with geeks and gamers, and I think we all need to come together. And even though I don't associate with these racist bigots, I think we all need to come together. I'd just like to make that point. Even though I think all these white supremacist bigots, these fandom menace, racists, I hate all of them. I think they should be burned alive. I think we need to all come together. It's a time for peace, people.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I gotta head out for the night. Sorry, I'm not feeling too well. Y'all keep it up, though.
Alrighty then.
Thank you, Slav. What would you give the movie, man?
Arbitrary rating.
Huh?
Shoot.
What's your arbitrary rating? Like you can do 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10, or like you could do B, C, A. I don't give a fuck.
I generally don't do those. I go off of is it worth your time or not. So I'd say this is worth your time. So I guess A.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like that?
Yeah, it's like
I know that made Rose cringe.
No, I mean, teach his own.
It's a matinee.
All right, I'll put it at. It's a C. All right, y'all have a good night.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I would recommend this because it's 4 hours and it feels like 4 hours. I mean, I know you talked about the last 80 minutes being, entertaining, but like you got to get through 3 hours to get to that point, or 3 hours and, I don't know, 30 minutes to get to that point. And I don't know if it's worth it.
Couldn't somebody just skip that though? Couldn't somebody just start the movie like in the last 80 minutes and just watch that one day?
Yeah, your point to start would be
it's
the
basically
Resurrection
the
of
same.
Superman.
You're not missing like anything. I mean, there are little minor things that the Zack Snyder film has in terms of story over the original, but like the broad strokes of it is essentially the same plot. So yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry, I think you were talking over, but yeah, you were just giving your response. I would just say, like, for anybody, I think the best way to start would be just when they start resurrecting Superman. But, like I said, the first half, there is a lot of bullshit to sit through. And
I would rewatch that last 80 minutes right now.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, rewatch.
Yeah. But yeah, there is a lot of bullshit. There is a lot of the Zack Snyder visual, stuff. That's how I'll best put it. So, like, by the time you reach, like, the second half, and there is a lot of it, it is a bit of a sensory overload, and it does feel like you're put through too much, man. But honestly, yeah, I agree with Pat. I would definitely watch the last 80 minutes before I would check out the episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which, okay, I gotta say this to Disney. You gotta stop with releasing these by a week. Embrace your binge model and release all your fucking episodes at the same time. Because I did the same shit with WandaVision as I did with Mandalorian. I'm not gonna fucking wait week for week for 1 or 2 episodes of your show. I'm just gonna wait until your run is done. But you really need to embrace this shit.
Why does no one else does except Netflix? Netflix has this formula, the binge thing, and it blows up, and Netflix is number one. Amazon does week, but like The Boys last year, like the first season of The Boys, they released like the first 4 or 5 episodes, and then they released the last 3 week to week. And then season 2, they released it week to week, and it really hurt the show considerably in its quality. And same thing with Disney Plus, and then HBO does that because they still treat it like it's HBO, so they release things week by week. Like nobody just like Netflix is the only one that wants to put up a whole show in one thing where you can just marathon or watch like 4 or 5 episodes in a row. Because these shows are kind of written in a way to be watched that way. They don't remind me of like television because television had that formula where it was set up to continue for a long period of time. Like I remember watching Breaking Bad on Netflix, and then I watched it on TV in its last 2 seasons, and it was so much better on Netflix because I wanted to watch like 5 or 6 episodes in a row because it was intense. But watching it to week was fucking frustrating, and there was commercials and shit, and I think it could work for some shows. I'm not saying every show needs to be that way,
I would say like the first season of Stranger Things was the only one that got away with it, because I think with Stranger Things they were able to understand like people are watching shows in a binge fashion. So that was like Netflix's like new and original show at the time that kind of embraced that model, and they were able to carry out their episodes. Because if you watch a separate episode of Stranger Things, it's not its own story. It leads up to the next episode, which is one thing that works so well with that first season.
Yeah, that it was like, yeah, exactly. And like I just think about, don't get me wrong, I like Game of Thrones when it was good. The week to week thing was awesome because every week you were just like waiting for the next episode, and it would build tension. And so not every show works that way. I'm not saying it's for every show, but like most shows I've seen, modern shows the last couple years, the week to week formula doesn't really suit them that well.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't benefit them, and I don't know why they're not embracing the binge structure a lot more. I really wish Dan would get in here. I'd love to hear Dan talk about this. I feel like he'd be so happy right now.
Yeah.
That
Where is he?
I don't know. I thought he'd be here tonight because I told him about all. I mean, Dan, this whole time with fucking Snyder, and we're here talking about how we like it, and he's not here. I mean, I feel like some universe. I'm really worried. I feel like the cosmos is doing something. Like we like this movie, so something happened to Dan. We can't live in a world where we all 3 of us like this movie. It just can't exist. Like he's living in some parallel apocalyptic universe where the Snyder Cut like is he hates it, and it's like the ending of this movie. It's like he's in the apocalypse, and it's evil Zack Snyder's trying to kill him. I'm really worried about Dan that he's not here. So, Mr. Remind, how are you doing? Love your Snyder mask. Thank you, Sketch Therapy. Oh, that's not a mask. I took off the Pat mask, and that's my face actually underneath.
Nice.
Yeah.
He got sent down into existence, Thanos style.
It's like it's not even a nitpick. It's just something I noticed, or I had a question about. Like, you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but like the scene where Cyborg has that dream sequence, and you see Superman holding a dead body. Like, is that Lois Lane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or is that?
That
I know that is kind of like a reference to Final Crisis, where Superman is holding Batman's corpse because Darkseid kills him.
Yeah, it's Lois Lane.
I don't.
In Batman v Superman,
Guys,
there's
I'm
that
gonna
weird
go
sequence.
very quick before you guys. I'm gonna go.
Oh, okay, man.
Who's leaving?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. Is it Crazy?
Yep.
Oh, you have a good night, man. Thanks for hopping in.
Yeah.
Thanks for dropping by, dude.
You're welcome. I'm the Green Lantern of this stream.
That is true. You make a cameo and then you bounce.
Yep.
Yeah, in Batman v Superman, there's the scene where Flash tells Bruce Wayne that Lois is the key, and he has the nightmare of like evil Superman, like Super Jihad.
Yeah.
And then in this, that we see more of that, which is that Batman lets Lois Lane die for some reason, which we don't know yet.
No.
And that's what causes Superman to go evil and team up with Darkseid, and Batman's trying to save the world in the apocalypse, and he has to team up with some of the villain characters and side characters because a lot of the Justice League has been killed, including Wonder Woman and Aquaman have died in this universe. But I don't think we're ever going to see anything from this. I think this is probably the last time we're ever going to see any of that stuff. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, there's an article that says what his plans were gonna be, if I can pull it up. I posted it in another server.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't see them making a sequel to this universe. I mean, just the tone. Like, you watch this film and you see other films that were springboard from these films, like Aquaman and the sequel to Wonder Woman. Completely different tone, completely different aesthetics. I mean, I don't see them coming back together at all.
I'm
mean, you
wondering
got
if this does well, though, you know?
Yeah.
Because Wonder Woman, you know, it bombed because it came out during COVID. Wonder Woman would have made a lot of money, so I don't, you know, Warner Brothers seems to be the ones that are really embracing the streaming. I mean, they're going to release Godzilla, Kong. They released Judah and the Black Messiah, Tom and Jerry. They're going to release Dune, and Denis Villeneuve's not happy about that either. I'm curious because, like, let's say, what if this like gets like a huge viewership? You know, what if they're like, oh shit, people really like this? Because they might be rethinking what they do with their movies in the future. Because I really don't know if theaters are going to come back 100%, even if the vaccine goes through. You know,
how do you fund like a $200 million movie through a streaming, model? Like
subscribers. You the idea, because HBO's losing that battle between everyone. They're losing between Disney Plus and Netflix, but if they can bring people in, you know, Netflix makes like billions of dollars a year because people pay, like, I think it's like 30 million people have Netflix and they pay the like $16 a month for it. So you just do the math on that.
That is,
you know, HBO was spending $100 million a season on Game of Thrones. I think if they do Snyder stuff again, I don't know if they'll spend like that kind of money again. I think it'll be like lower budgeted. I just don't know if they, and some of these actors, they got to think if they want to work. Like, let's say if Ben Affleck wants to work, is he going to get a movie made to get released in theaters in the next 2 years? He might have to just be like, fuck it, I got to play Batman on a HBO show with Snyder. I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. We're kind of in a weird area right now. A lot of the stuff we're seeing was shot before COVID or they finished filming afterwards, like WandaVision. And the only movies that I know that were pretty much in production was stuff like Batman or The Matrix 4. Is being shot for some reason. They shot The Matrix 4 in Germany, so that's coming out, but I don't even know if that's going to come out in theater. So it's not impossible that Zack Snyder gets to do something with DC again, but I think it depends on how well this does. I think if this doesn't like break some kind of streaming record, I don't know why they would do something with him again.
I think I heard somewhere that it did. I don't know. I can't even prove that, but I thought I heard that, like, you know, there was a lot of people coming in to watch the film, but
it wouldn't shock me. I mean, I'm sure for HBO in particular, pull up a year of any company's total box office, 7 stand it next to any streaming service all combined. Yeah, dude, but that's the thing that doesn't exist anymore. I don't disagree with you that the box office was making more money, but like Disney was making movies that were all making $1 billion, and now all of their recent films have bombed. I mean, they've lost money on several movies now, so it's like you can't keep losing money. And this COVID thing's dragged on so long, a lot of the theaters are just going to shut down. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be enough theaters. Yeah. The reason movies made so much money was because there were so many theaters and the ticket prices were so high. If there's going to be like, if you can't open a movie in 4,500 theaters, you're not going to be making that kind of money anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong, Disney was making crazy money, but I mean, how long? I mean, that's the thing, because even if they start reopening the theaters, like, I mean, like, Tenet bombed, Wonder Woman bombed. You know, they're putting $200 million into these movies to expect them to make $1 billion. So yeah. I just don't think they're going to be making $200-300 million movies projects anymore. I think they're going to make like lower budgeted stuff.
That's why I brought that up, because it's just like, you know, most of this money was coming from the fact that you had theaters literally across the world, especially with China in their market. So it's just like, now that, you know, most of the theaters in America and also around the world are closed, how are you going to justify a $200 million budget when you need to make at least $1 billion to recoup that budget? You know, you're not going. I don't know the numbers on streaming services, but I know for certain, or not, I can't even say that, but I have a feeling that, you know, films like Wonder Woman 84 didn't make $1 billion on streaming.
Yeah, well, I don't think they will either. Well, I just don't think they ever thought they were going to release their big budget movies on streaming services, so I think they're just kind of fucked. I don't think they ever thought this was going to happen, and they have these movies, and then it became very clear to them that the theater was just not going to be the best option, and what were they going to set on these movies until 2022? Because Tenet was the big thing, where if Tenet, they wanted to see how Tenet performed, and it bombed, and it was in wide release. I mean, they've tried to do movies in at least 2,000 theaters, and no movie has opened above like $20 million, I think was the highest open. I think most movies are opening in the teens right now. I mean, Wonder Woman should have opened to $100 million and opened to like 15 million or something like that. So like, and I don't see any way, because that's the thing. How long can theaters keep going without making any money? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know what the studios are supposed to do. My assumption is the Netflix model was going to take over naturally in like the next decade, and I think this just put Netflix in a whole other fucking level. I think Netflix was already dominating with what they were doing, and they weren't spending $200 million on stuff. And now I think, that's what his name, Ted Sarandos or something, the guy who runs Netflix, I think he's probably like smiling ear to ear right now, because he's like, fuck you guys. Because they have all these movies that they're pretty much going to have to take a hit on, and he doesn't have to take a hit on anything. Like Queen's Gambit, 85 million people watched it, and I doubt they spent more than like 20-something million dollars on Queen's Gambit. So I think they're just going to have to rethink the model. I think they're going to have to hold off on making $200-300 million movies for a while. I just don't think it's possible. Out of the gate, everyone with theaters open will need a Joker, Deadpool, and making that kind of movie is cheap. You got to write it right. People stir crazy. And movies a sweet release to some folks. I don't know, man. I don't know if people want to go back to the movies. I think COVID's become too political, unfortunately. Because half the people I know, this is anecdotal, but I feel like half the people want it to continue on, and I think they want the unemployment. And I think a lot of people have started to like wearing the mask and shit like that too. I get this weird vibe. I just don't think we're going to be the same again. I think a lot of people saying, oh, they'll open everything back the same. It's like, well, man, they told us it was going to be 2 weeks. Then they said a few months.
Yeah.
It's been over a year, man.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't ending. Like, if you work at a restaurant, you're going to be wearing a mask for a long time. If you work certain jobs and certain things like concerts, going to the movies, I don't think we're getting any kind of normalcy again probably till 2022 at this point. I just don't see it. I don't see like by July everything's going to be back to normal. It just doesn't make sense to me. Unless like, I don't know. It's like you could even tell everybody. I feel like they could go on TV and tell everybody, hey, COVID's over. You can't get it, and there's no possibility done. I still feel like a lot of people wouldn't go do stuff. It's hard to fucking explain the psychology of this thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of gone beyond like a point of like explanation. COVID, like I used to be able to make sense of it. Now I'm like, I don't know what to think about COVID.
I mean, it's very simple. Excuse me. If you tell people for a year that people are dying, thousands and hundreds of thousands of people are dying because of the disease, that's going to make people scared and not want to do anything. And it's hard to say that for a year. Then the next year, yeah, everything is going back to normal very soon. Nothing to fear. People just don't click like that, or turn that switch off, that fast. So, I mean,
yeah, I agree, and I'm really worried that people, if they spend too much time away from something, they're going to start to rethink how they felt about it. I haven't been to the movies in a while, and I still like going. I saw Tenet, I saw a few movies, but. We just watched the Snyder Cut on HBO, and I'm just sitting there like, I mean, yeah, I guess it would have been cool to see this in the theater, but it's like, it's some weird new thing where it's like, I kind of don't mind watching movies at home too. Yeah. It's like, I feel like I'd rather watch older movies re-released in the theater than I'd like to go see new movies in the theater, because I don't think most new movies are good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because I couldn't see this in the theater. My head was killing me by the end of it, and I don't know how you can get people to sit in the theater for 4 hours, man. Like that shit was crazy, man. Like
The Irishman was 4 hours. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was rough.
Really, it was 4 hours. I remember it didn't. 4 hours.
Yeah, that was a 4-hour movie. I forgot about that.
The big problem with this film is the pacing, man. I don't know if it's the. I mean, it is the scenes. It's definitely the extension of the scenes. But even still, with like the slow motion, all that stuff, it's just Snyder just really just let loose. They just let him go loose. He go off.
Yeah, no doubt.
And
It seemed like he was. It seemed like he was cutting the reins back from his overreaching ideas that he was pushing from Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and kind of like, just loosen up. And I think, because here's the thing, I feel like this is probably like a self reflection of his last two DC films, is because we're at that point where we're pretty cynical with a lot of new media, new movies, because I would agree with Pat. A lot of new movies are pretty much shit, and I would just rather watch, like, I just got Jackie Brown. I'm about to like put on some Tarantino up in this motherfucker and go back to his roots and then just go on that journey to where he ended off so far with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's a journey I would rather go on. But
or like the Ghibli stuff you've been getting into, and a lot of stuff's on HBO. I
Oh.
just like
Ghibli.
Yeah, I've just been finding that like I just kind of view movies differently than I used to pre-COVID, which is weird. I feel like we kind of gave them this importance just because it was like the conditioning that we had was like, well, you have to go to the movie theater. That's why I made that video, Good Farewell to Movie Theaters, and there was that whole Our Town reference at the end of that video, because I was just kind of like, hey man, like I've just kind of had to accept the fact that like maybe we think things have to be. I think it's unplugged in the back. If you were to be a paracord, I think we used to think that like, hey, this is how it's always gonna be, and I don't know if it's how it's gonna be anymore, man. It's like I've thought about this a lot, where like our no, I mean like your power cord.
It's connected, bro. I have to plug it elsewhere.
No, the plug in the back was unplugged.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you. Well, it's just like, because I think people are kind of aware right now that the movies just weren't that good. Like, even when we were looking at the movies that were doing well, it was like Joker, those kind of movies would break out, but there was no middle market anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The middle market was dead in movies. There wasn't the $30 million adult movie that could make like, $200 million like back in the day. I mean, it was pretty much, you had to make like a high concept movie for it to break out. Even if it wasn't $100 million movie, it was still kind of high concept. And now that people have had some distance from that, it's going to kind of like, I just don't feel hype anymore. It's been a while since I felt like a movie's coming out and people feel hype for it, like we used to at theaters. Like, oh man, I can't wait to go see that movie in the theater. Everyone's excited. It seems like it's been so long.
Yeah.
Like this had more hype than any movie that came out in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, when you were saying earlier about the feature of these films, or these the Snyder universe, I'm thinking about Marvel. Like, I don't know if Marvel's going to release all these films in the future that they're planning on releasing, because, like you said, a lot of those films are built on the ideal that they're going to make about $1 billion back in profits. And I don't know how you're going to do that where, the method of distributing these films is through streaming. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really see a lot of those films, unless they change the budget or they write the script where they don't need a $200 million budget. But I don't know, man, because a lot of those films in the Marvel catalog are like big, high concept, big budget films. So I don't know.
I agree. Well, somebody made a good point in the chat that the middle market kind of went to like the low budget horror, like the Blumhouse stuff, or like, the Conjuring kind of stuff, like these $20 million horror movies or less that could make money. And
yeah,
but like comedies were pretty much dead. Nobody was talking about this the last few years. Like, remember like in the 2000s, like Will Ferrell, Ben Stiller, all these guys had movies come out like every year, and they would like make money, or Judd Apatow. Like a lot of that shit was dead.
Yeah,
we weren't really getting like the hit comedy in the last few years, or like.
I think that has to do with politics, honestly, more so than like
Yeah,
because it's kind of weird to make a comedy film with like you have to factor in diversity, sexism, all this other stuff. Like, it's really hard to do comedy.
I agree
Like,
because with the political climate we're under right now, it seems like people are afraid to say things that would offend people or create some controversy. But the thing with comedy is because with this climate, it's okay to embrace controversy. It's okay to embrace a taboo because with the genius about comedy is that they're taking real world issues or feelings that you have in your head and you're just kind of like poking fun about how people would react and stuff, and I think that's key in comedy, and we're missing a lot of that because honestly, what's the last comedy has anyone ever laughed at in the past decade? Because
Zoolander, but that came out like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think a lot of comedies moved to like podcasting, live streams, stand-up stuff, like us making jokes on here, or guys on their shows doing jokes. I mean, that's where I get most of my humor from now, is online content. I don't really get it from movies anymore. I feel like the mainstream movie comedy is like a dead genre.
Yeah, and someone you got a super chat, but SB Candidate said that late night shows suck. Yes, they do suck because a lot of the people that they bring in for these late night talk shows are they're raking in YouTubers like fucking Lily Singh with that fucking cringy ass Superwoman has her own show, and I fucking doubt people would actually tune in to watch that bullshit.
Logan Paul almost had a movie career until like all the controversy happened too. He was getting cast and stuff. Somebody said, if this movie's success, do you think there's a Snyderverse? Do you think it could compete with Marvel's wholesome family content? No, I don't think the Snyderverse will ever be as popular as Marvel.
It will be a very expensive niche.
I think Marvel is I'm sure WandaVision did very well, and I'm sure Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I'm sure Black Widow is going to do very well. I mean, Joker did pretty good, but people always bring that up. Like, well, Joker made $1 billion. It cost this. I'm like, yeah, but Marvel has like how many movies that made $1 billion or $2 billion? I mean, it's kind of crazy. Captain Marvel made more money than Joker. I mean, it's like they make shit movies that make $1 billion. I mean, they don't even have to try. Like, Marvel just makes a movie and it makes it's just so huge. It's like I don't know if they can compete with it at all. I wish there was some competition for Marvel. I think like The Boys is probably more competition for Marvel right now as a TV show.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of becoming a cultural phenomenon. It kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones or something, or Walking Dead when they started. And the first season, like everybody, it wasn't, and then like 2 years after that, it's like it seems like everyone's talking about it, and you start to see T-shirts everywhere and shit. So I think there'll be competition for Marvel. I just don't think it'll be Zack Snyder. I don't think Zack Snyder will ever have universal appeal. I think he'll always have Snyder fans and then people who don't like Zack Snyder.
Yeah, niche genre. If Warner Brothers let him work again, this is going to be like a niche thing. I don't see it being mainstream.
Well, man, I mean, because the thing, because Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Joker all did better than Zack Snyder movies. Yeah. I mean, they all made more money. So it's sort of like he had like the weakest films financially, at least, and critically out of the group. So, well, I don't know why they would think Snyder. I mean, if it was me, I'd be like, let's go to Todd Phillips. I mean, fuck, he made Joker and it made $1 billion, or James Wan. Like, let's go to those guys because their movies made crazy money and people seem to love. I mean, Joker got like 11 Academy Award. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. So, like, Zack Snyder's never going to get like Oscar nominations. I mean, it's sort of like I don't think it's possible for a Snyderverse to compete with Marvel. That doesn't mean that DC can't compete with Marvel. I just don't know through Snyder. I mean, I would say Joker definitely competed with Marvel, and did stuff that Marvel did not do, which was I mean, Black Panther got nominations, but not like Joker. I mean, Joker was legitimately like
Best Picture.
Yeah, Black Panther got nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It won 3 fucking Oscars, too. It's crazy. What if Peter Jackson took over the DC? One, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I think money should be...
I think he's just making documentaries, too.
Yeah, he's making documentaries. I think money should be put on James Wan.
I agree, James Wan.
Because me and Pat had to talk about this. Like, okay, maybe not Zack Snyder. can carry this Snyderverse or like future DCEU movies, but maybe James Wan, because with what he did with Aquaman was kind of embrace the loose, fun, campy comic book nature, and perhaps maybe if the idea for another Justice League movie would be proposed for James Wan, I think he'd be my guy.
Who's more successful than James Wan? Really think about James Wan's career. Created the Saw franchise, created the Conjuring franchise, created the Insidious franchise, directed all 3 of the first movies, all became franchises that turned into blockbuster franchises. Came into Fast and the Furious. That movie made $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
Then he comes in and makes Aquaman, which everybody was like, Aquaman, and it makes it $1.1 billion. I mean, James Wan's like, I mean, it's crazy. He's like Sam Raimi or some shit. I mean, he's like on another level. I mean, he's like easily one of the top most successful filmmakers. Right? Same credit. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of him, but you got to kind of say something to like Todd Phillips too. I mean, it's the guy who made Road Trip and Old School and Starsky and Hutch. And then he does The Hangover, and it becomes like the biggest comedy ever. And now he does Joker, and it makes $1 billion. There's just some guys out there, whatever they're doing, it just somehow translates, and you kind of can't ignore it that like every 2 or 3 years, these guys come out with a new movie, and it becomes this huge deal. Those are the guys you got to put your money behind. Zack Snyder's always like, he really hasn't been on the ball since, I think he probably peaked at like 300 when that was a big hit.
Yeah.
And when Watchmen was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when Snyder was like a big deal. I think he's almost become more like a meme. People talk about Snyder like he's a big deal, but it's not like, I don't think the mainstream is in this conversation as much as we are as like people online talking about it.
Yeah.
I don't think most people actually give a shit about all the Snyder stuff. I think they're just like, oh, okay, there's a new Justice League cut coming out on HBO. I might watch it. You know, and they might hear about it and watch it or something like that. But I think, yeah, if I was DC, I'd be like James Wan 100%. I would let him do whatever the fuck he wants, just because the dude just knows how to like print money at this point. I mean, heck, even spin-off franchises. He created Annabelle in The Conjuring, and now you have the Annabelle franchise, which is successful. I mean, the dude's got like 5 franchises.
He also has a nun.
Yeah, the Nun. He's like J.J. Abrams or some shit. I mean, it's crazy. Like, dude is super, super successful.
Yeah.
I feel like the Dukes of Hazzard movie should have been like, God, Dukes of Hazzard movie's fucking terrible. That was those Broken Lizard guys.
Yeah, Broken Lizard.
Yeah, Beer Fest. What were you saying, Dragon?
There was one thing that kind of confused me in the Snyder Cut, like,
One?
you know how, like, maybe I'm trying to see if I heard this correctly, like, you know how, like, at the beginning, Wonder Woman explains how Darkseid invaded Earth to get the anti-life?
Yeah.
Well, later on, Steppenwolf has a vision of the anti-life, because I guess he didn't know that Wold had the anti-life.
Yeah, that's
And
that's
then, like, he reports saying that, you know, it's like, I found it, the Wold we lost, it's sort. That's like, wouldn't they already know, because it's where the muzzle boxes
exactly.
is?
Yeah, that's another piece of like clunky exposition. Is just like they touched on Earth, so they known already. They've been on Earth and they failed. So of course the anti-life. We're gonna call it the anti-life algorithm. Yeah, it's
The
still on
anti-life
Earth,
equation.
so it's still there for them to like try and invade Earth again.
Okay, so Zack Snyder's playlist. Okay. Justice League, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Blade Runner, Cinema Paradiso. I feel like he just picked some of these to be like, hey, I like Cinema Paradiso. Dangerous Liaisons, Down by Law, Dunkirk, The English Patient, Escape from New York, Jacob's Ladder, Little Children, Mad Max 2, Mad Max Fury Road, The Matrix, Michael Clayton, Mulholland Drive, My Left Foot, Night of the Living Dead, No Country for Old Men, Paris, Texas, The Player. Imagine watching The Player with Zack Snyder. I just watched The Player like a month ago. That would be surreal. Rashomon, Rick and Morty, Seven, Seven Samurai, The Shining, and Stranger Than Paradise. Fucking weird. No, I feel like he just went through and tried to say like, what movies would people think like, oh look, I'm Zack Snyder. I watch Jim Jarmusch.
I watch Rick and Morty.
I like the Rick and Morty's thrown in there. That one's really funny because it doesn't it's so odd. It's like the odd one out with all these other movies. Yeah, I see a lot of Jim Jarmusch and Snyder films. I see a lot of Kurosawa and Altman. Yeah, Paris, Texas. It's like, could you imagine Zack Snyder watching Paris, Texas? I'm so interested in this. I want to hear him talk about Mulholland Drive in Paris, Texas, and that. I'm like The Matrix, Mad Max. I get it, but like, yeah, Zack Snyder watches little children. What the fuck does he think? Like, Zack Snyder watches The English Patient. That's insanity.
I was about to say that probably where Snyder gets his pacing from is watching Win Winters movies.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. It's like, what the hell is like? I know you hate James Rolfe, but like Jacob's Ladder
is a good movie.
I like James Rolfe. What are you talking about?
Yeah, who said that he hated it? I don't hate him.
No,
Yeah,
he
James
says I
Rolfe-
know that you hate James Rolfe. I don't hate. I love James Rolfe. I'm like a
Yeah,
huge.
he's
He's
big.
probably like one of my like 5 all-time favorite YouTubers of all time, and I've met him a couple times. And I don't know where you got that from. I'm a big fan of him, and I think Jacob's Ladder is amazing.
I agree.
I don't know what happened to Adrian Leon, like that director made Fatal Attraction and that, like, because Jacob's Ladder's like his like masterpiece, and he was a really talented filmmaker. I don't know what really happened to that guy. He was like the guy directed the sex thrillers for a long. I mean, he kind of kicked off that, like, revitalized that whole the Michael Douglas sex thriller that dominated the fucking 90s. Pretty much starts with Fatal. No, I love James Rolfe.
Yeah.
I think I've shit on his movie a little bit, but like I still watch Angry. Madcap was here like 3 weeks ago. We were watching Angry Video Game Nerd videos. Yeah. I think that like those early AVGN videos are like classics at this point. Like the Friday the 13th one and Nightmare on Elm Street. I could watch those forever.
Yeah.
That's some of my favorite content ever. No, he's like Red Letter Media for me or something. Like, I hold him in very high regard. I just watched The Player a couple months ago. Yeah, I hadn't watched The Player in a long time. It was a fun rewatch. I own the Criterion, so I was like, why the fuck don't I just put that in? But HBO's added all these Criterion movies recently. Like, they added...
That's where that they have Criterion films where you have a streaming service dedicated to that. Like,
what's on your list? Don't say Fellini. You always say Fellini. I don't even know if there's any Fellini on HBO Max.
yeah, there is.
Mostly I've been watching Joe Pera Talks with You, which is my favorite show. That's on right now. It's an Adult Swim show, and that's pretty much my favorite television show on right now. And then I watch a lot of South Park on HBO Max because it's all on there. And then for the most part, I just kind of watch random movies. I watched Dead Man recently, which I hadn't seen in a long time, which is a Jim Jarmusch, which is really the only Jim Jarmusch movie I like. That and Ghost Dog. I don't really like most of his movies. I think he's pretty overrated. In particular, his early work I think is very overrated. But I don't know. I just find stuff like My Favorite Year is a movie I'm a big fan of. That's on HBO Max. I kind of just look for stuff that... I watched The Doors recently because I hadn't seen it in a long time because it's fucking bonkers. And I was like, I'm going to watch The Doors. Which, you know, is like... There's like 20 minutes of good stuff in the movie, and then the rest of it's crazy Oliver Stone. That was like when Oliver Stone just went absolutely nuts. I was the year he made that in JFK, and you're like, what the fuck is going on with Oliver Stone? Okay, Adult Swim classic. Yeah, and I watch a lot of old Adult Swims. I watch Super Jail on there. So that's one of my favorite shows. Mainly because there's a lot of Adult Swim on there. That kind of pumped me up at HBO Max. Is like, I was like, holy shit, they have all these like shows I grew up on as a teenager that were like a big influence on me. And then the Ghibli stuff being on there is pretty fucking great because Ghibli was nowhere. It's Netflix in other countries, but not in America. So they like have all the Ghibli stuff on there. So that's like, oh, because I don't own all of those movies, and they're actually not that cheap either if you want to buy them on Blu-ray. Although recently I've kind of gone back to Disney Plus, and I've been watching Disney movies. I like watched Ratatouille last weekend, and I've kind of been going back. I kind of want to rewatch like Finding Nemo and Ratatouille and Monsters Inc. and then some other movies, you know.
I would say I would like to add me and Pat we became the egos where we bit the Ratatouille off Justice League, and we were kind of just taken aback from it.
You're not. Oh my god, you're so right. We're the critic at the end of the fucking movie. Oh my god, like Zack Snyder brought us out a plate of food, and we were like, we went back to childhood when we were reading comic books, and then we were like, who's the chef? And they took us into the kitchen. And it was a rat. Zack Snyder's a rat and all that. We're like, oh my god, yeah. Now we're gonna like open up we lost our critic badges, and we're gonna go open up we're gonna go fund a Zack Snyder project at the end of the story. That is so weird. I just watched Ratatouille, and that is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And I was like getting emotional at the end of Ratatouille. That scene's so beautiful, where the critic has that whole speech about that, you know, it's fun to be negative and we kind of strive on it, but like a critic's real job is to embrace the new. And that you know, a great artist, not anyone can be a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because I was getting so emotional about watching that because I love that movie. It's so elegant.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's weird to be at the Snyder Cut now, and I kind of feel like that. Like I went in like I went in hoping to be entertained. Like I even said to Madcap, I said, you know, maybe the later half of this movie might be good, and I think it'll start rough, which is what happened, which shocked me. But I didn't want to go in cynical, but I was pretty sure. I mean, I was laughing at the reviews. I'm like, I'm gonna shit on this movie. I can't believe people are giving this like 4 out of 5 stars and stuff like that, or B plus. I was like, that's ridiculous. There's no way this is gonna be good. Like, and I mean, I don't think I would give it 4 out of 5 stars either. I mean, I'm not ready to go that far, but like, I'm also not at like that 1-star place I thought I was gonna be. I mean, I was expecting this whole stream to just be sitting here laughing, making fun of the movie, and I think we did some of that early on, but I really don't think there's too much to make fun of. It's just like weird things, like the hot dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's funny. It's just fucking weird. Like
I think the Iceland women singing was weird.
That was very weird. That had me worried pretty early on. Yeah, the women singing, the hot dog scene, the Wonder Woman scene, the robbery, the Almascara fight action sequence, like all of that stuff had me like, oh my god, this is like worse than what I thought it was gonna be.
There's the Amazonian choir that was on every time Wonder Woman fought.
Yeah,
I also found
there was a lot of like,
yeah, I thought that too. What the fuck was that? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it was strange. There was a lot of weird like Zack Snyder. There was also, we didn't talk about this. There was all these moments where like he would do a close up on something, like he would show the razor that Bruce Wayne was shaving with, or he would show like a pot like on fire, that like a kettle, or he would like show like Alfred pouring the tea. There was all these like inserts that were just like lingered on for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that was about. It's throughout the whole movie too, for the most part. It kind of slows down later on, but early on, like if somebody's like taking a shit, you see the toilet paper. I mean, that's what it's like. It's like he'll just like focus on like the small detail there, and it was very odd filmmaking, like that he even drew attention to those things. Like he would cut in on a razor or cut in on a kid. I didn't even know what to think about that. Like first I thought it was like indulgent, but then I was like, I don't even know what it is. It's like, is this like an advertisement, or what's he trying to say with this? Cause you know, what kind of information is he trying to display? Like, I get the Batman shaving, so showing the razor doesn't really give me this like information that I need. Like, I don't need a close up on it to know that he's shaving. I don't know why you just don't cut to him in the mirror shaving, which is what most people would do. Or like, why are you showing Alfred pour the like tea? In a close up? That was throughout the movie too. I thought that was very weird. That Snyder 3 out of 5, Whedon 2 out of 5.
That's debatable.
I don't know, man. I think I said it in the review that I posted on Letterboxd that even still with all this stuff, the Whedon version is better, in my opinion.
I think there's parts of it I like. I mean, I definitely think the jokes work better in a lot of the Whedon version. Not all of them. The humor doesn't work in this movie at all. There's like not one funny moment. All the funny dialogue doesn't really work. But also, there's not as like some of the cringe that's in the Whedon stuff too. I'm really happy that the Dostoevsky thing's not in there anymore. I did kind of miss the goofy kind of Power Rangers quick fun tone of the Whedon one though. This was definitely like a super dreary, serious movie for a good chunk of it. It took a while for it to like be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Where the Whedon movie's kind of like it blew my mind. Like that scene that's early on in the Whedon cut where Batman goes and meets Gordon and stops that guy. It's like that's like really far into this fucking movie. And it's like it's actually like a different scene too. Like I don't even think that scene's in there, right? Where he like has the guy and he hangs him over the ledge.
No, that's not. That's nowhere in the movie.
Yeah,
No,
so it was weird
Yeah.
because like
So I'm guessing it was all Whedon.
it
They
felt
can smell
Whedon.
fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the scene where they're all talking, some of the scenes I really like in the Whedon version, which is when they're talking like in the Batcave thing, the like warehouse or whatever he has them in. Like there's some really good Whedon moments in there, like Aquaman sitting on the lasso of truth, or when they're talking, and all those scenes weren't in there anymore. They were like in there, but they were different now. It was just kind of the Justice League talking about like what they had to do and what Steppenwolf was up to and stuff.
Exposition in this film.
It was kind of an exposition fest. That's not untrue. There wasn't much like character conversations. It was a lot of like, we need to do this because this is happening and this is why, or like, it was a lot of people trying to convince other people to help them. I noticed too, it was like Wonder Woman trying to get Cyborg on the side, Batman trying to get Aquaman, them trying to get Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman's whole purpose in this film seemed to be, which I really don't like Batman in either version. I think Batman really fails in the Whedon version in particular. It's like his whole purpose is just to like get the people together.
Yeah.
And they almost try to set up like he's on some sort of suicide mission at the end, but I don't really comes across. But it's like his whole thing is like, because I like my Batman to be one step ahead of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what gives him an edge as a human, is that he's intelligent and clever, and he finds these way around what these people with superpowers have. And he never really does anything like that in this whole movie. Like even in the Whedon version, when he stops Superman by having Lois ready, that feels like Batman. But in this, Lois just shows up anyway, and I mean, I like the scene where like Superman's pointing the laser eyes at Batman and shit, trying to burn him. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
He's gonna fucking kill him,
Mm-hmm.
So I dig it. But there's never a moment in this where Batman does something where it feels like Batman. It's just the whole time he's just like, "That's why I brought you guys together. You guys have to be together. We have to do it. We need Superman. Without Superman, it's a good decision." Like he just doesn't. Ben Affleck's Batman never feels like that intelligent, which is
I don't know.
a big issue
It's like
for
if you look
me.
at the third act of Batman versus Superman, you kind of have that with the whole kryptonite gun and the dagger and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's true to an extent, and even in that warehouse scene where Batman not only is just like punching those guys to a pulp, he is using his gadgets and his wits to get some dominance in that fight scene. You're not wrong about that.
But in my world, like though, Batman wouldn't be
Yeah.
manipulated by Lex Luthor and Batman be Superman.
Exactly.
That is true.
Like he wouldn't even get to that point where he would be like he fights Superman in The Dark Knight Returns because Superman's like working for a fascistic government and is outlawing superheroes. So he fights Superman to fake his own death so he can go underground so he can start like a new movement. So there's like motivations behind it. But obviously Superman, he's fighting Superman because he's been manipulated by Lex Luthor throughout the movie. So he's been outsmarted. So that really bothers me. So I don't, I just don't. And this is a comic book thing. I got to stick up my ass about it. But
That's a legitimate criticism
but
because that is a Batman's character.
yeah, he's supposed to not. You don't manipulate Batman. You don't trick Batman. He manipulates you. So it just would be cool in this movie if whatever Steppenwolf or Darkseid or the cubes were, if it felt like Batman like was one step ahead the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
If he had a backup plan for things, but it kind of feels like he's just throwing himself in danger.
Yeah, because he's just randomly punching these parademons instead of just like
Getting his ass kicked too.
Yeah, just instead of just using his gadgets at play, or at least figuring out the situation to relate that with the Justice League. There's not much of that. I mean, there kind of is towards the climax of the Snyder Cut, but especially when they have to protect Batman and Batman has to navigate to that lookout or that tower, or whatever, to use what he can against the parademons. But there's not a whole lot of gadgetry at play. He only has like the gauntlets to pretty much just protect him from any energy blasts and shit. But I wish there was more of that.
Yeah, and really, to be fair, like, nobody's done it perfectly. I mean, Nolan did pretty good with that sometimes, where, like, Batman's car gets blown up and then he has a motorcycle pop out of the car so he can still chase the Joker. Like, he has, like, a backup. He's okay if his car gets blown up.
Mm-hmm.
He attacks, like, a building filled with SWAT guys and stuff, and he has, like, a sonar thing, so he has an edge on them, So... but nobody's ever really done like the Bruce Wayne's a genius sort of Batman in a movie sort of thing. It's always like it was kind of like he's getting a lot of filmmakers seem to interpret Batman as this guy who just kind of gets by on like the skin of his teeth sort of thing. Like he fights his way through things, or he's rugged. He doesn't plan ahead.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't like figure things out and solve things and stuff like that. They never want to like embrace that Batman, and I don't really understand why, because that's like part of what makes Batman cool.
Yeah,
like they do that with Iron Man. Like Tony Stark in the Marvel movies is like smarter than everyone and keeps coming up with like new ways to innovate his suits and even give other people equipment throughout the movies. He gives people stuff to make them better. But Batman, like in this movie, he never really gives anybody anything or like sets anything up, and then all of his vehicles like get destroyed. He's basically just staying in these vehicles until they get destroyed, and then he like basically has no superpower, so he has to be protected by the Justice League. And then he just tries to like punch people that are like alien beings and stuff like that. He never uses a gadget, or he never like has a plan to take something out that's like they're like, how did you do that? And he's like, always have a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. That like that's Batman, but like Snyder sees him as like a brawler, like a dude who like gets in there and gets dirty, and then he's like a motivational speaker. He's like a coach. He's like coaching these guys to be the Justice League. And I hated seeing Superman getting thrown around by Batman and be Batman v Superman. If the comic is a better story, not about a stick up your rear, it's about storytelling, especially in the... Well, don't get me wrong, there's comics where Batman's not written well. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. We tend to focus on the stuff that's good and ignore all the stuff that's like shit. There's a lot of bad Batman stuff, but...
Yeah.
You ever read that one Batman story by the dude who did Batman in the 70s? I forgot his name.
Neil Adams?
Yeah, Neil
Danny
Adams in the
O'Neill.
2000s. He wrote a Batman story that's like I don't know, it's like a surreal work of art, because it's like it doesn't have a story, it's just like a collection of scenes. And it's told by Batman, or a framing story where Batman is talking to Robin in the Batcave about like why his suit was ripped or something like that. It's a very strange series of comics. I think it's called Batman Forever, not Forever. Batman Forever, Batman something to around among those lines.
Yeah, there's some cool Batman stuff that a lot of people don't talk about. There's Batman the Cult, where Batman gets kidnapped and tortured and brainwashed by a cult. He has a fight in the sewers, and then Robin comes to save him. And then at the end, he goes and attacks the cult with like a tank. It just blows some fuckers away. And then there's the Grant Morrison Batman Gothic, where there's an original villain, which we don't actually get in Batman too much. And it kind of goes back to when Bruce Wayne was in boarding school, and there was a guy that was going to molest Bruce Wayne when he was a kid. And that guy's come back as like a phantom. And it's very gothic-y. And then there's Gotham by Gaslight. Then there's Batman versus Dracula, which is actually a really good comic, where Batman has to become a vampire to be able to fight a vampire, which is really cool. And I mean, my favorite Batman stuff is the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams stuff, just because there's kind of a sense of adventure to that is lacking in a lot of modern day Batman. In the post Dark Knight Returns, everyone sees Batman as the Dark Knight Returns Batman, and they don't like embrace the Indiana Jones, James Bond aspects of Batman. Which is because like in the 70s, 80s Batman, like he would like fight guys that were like wrestlers, or he would like join a military group and stuff like that. So I missed that kind of Batman stuff, but I get like why somebody would be scared to do that with the movie. Although I think it would be cool. And then, Grant Morrison stuff I really dig. Especially like Grant Morrison's Justice League run in the '90s has some really cool Batman shit in it. And then he did.
I'm gonna disagree. I mean, I don't know. I haven't read a lot of Grant Morrison. The only thing I read by him was Doom Patrol, and I was not impressed, to say the least. But to each his own.
I mean, Grant Morrison's written a lot of books. You know, he wrote The Invisibles, and he did Batman for like 6 years, and I mean, he's definitely like one of my all-time favorite comic book writers for sure. He wrote the greatest Superman comic of all time. All-Star Superman's the greatest Superman comic ever written.
Yeah, I'll give him another, because I read Doom Patrol thinking I was gonna get something like Watchmen, but it was not really that. It was like, to me at least, it seemed like a very standard comic book story, but like, you know, a little bit of I guess quirkiness, you know, like with the characters and the environments that they're placed in, or the villains and the environments that they're, well, also the main characters too, and the environments that they're placed in. But like, I was expecting something more, I guess, philosophical, like Watchmen or something. But
I don't know if Doom Patrol's aged as well as some of his other stuff. That was pretty early on in his career. It did actually put him on the map in a lot of ways when he did Doom Patrol, but I don't know if that's aged as well as some of his more original stuff, like The Invisibles, or yeah, just his Batman and Superman stuff. I mean, yeah, he did I think he's the one who wrote Arkham Asylum. Yeah, Batman Arkham Asylum, the graphic novel, which is a really cool book. And then I mean, he was the one that did the, you know, Batman dies and then Dick Grayson becomes Batman, which is one of my favorite things that ever happened in Batman. Which I really hate that they retcon that too, that they brought Bruce Wayne back, because it was really cool that Dick Grayson was Batman and Damian Wayne was Robin. So I was really digging that shit. But once they did the 52, I think they just dropped all that when Scott Snyder came in and took over Batman. And then trying to think, Grant Morrison has like tons of famous books, and for some reason not going around. I'm just thinking about like the All-Star Superman, the Invisibles, and some of his Batman stuff. But like, I know the dude's like, it's funny they're not going to my head because I know he's written, because his Justice League run's pretty famous too in the '90s when he was working on Justice League. In particular, like the first like 20-something issues are pretty iconic now. Really great artwork. X-Men, he did an X-Men book in the 2000s. Now it's pretty famous.
Yeah,
where he basically did like a classic reboot of the X-Men franchise. But it's weird. It's you know, I think about him because there's him, and then like Brian K. Vaughan I really like, but he hasn't written on Batman a lot. I like the Scott Snyder stuff though, but Scott Snyder stuff kind of falls apart as it goes along. It starts out really good.
Good thought on the Tom King stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know if Dan's showing up. I was kind of waiting to hear from Dan, so I might wrap this up here soon.
Yeah, we're gonna have to split this into chapters.
Yeah, because I'd like to hear Dan's opinion. Yeah, 6 parts.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Because really, you know, like you know, I mean, I'd like to stream it. I'd like you know, I want to talk to Dan about it, and you know, Slav we had to do this kind of late, you know, so I think it affected it. But there's some other people I'd like to hear their takes on this. I'd like to hear, you know, Blood Money talk about it. If we get Cordry on at some point, I'd like to talk to him about it. Terrible Lizard, I'd like to talk to him about it. So we're not done with the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
There's still lots to discuss. But what'd you say?
Oh, closing thoughts?
Oh, closing thoughts. Yeah. Do you guys have any last thing you want to say about the movie after watching it?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think I already said all I wanted to say about
it. Yeah, that's how I feel. I don't have much left to say, you know, like without...
I mean, if there's anything additional I would like to add... because what I was saying earlier is how cynical we become with movies, and I feel like Zack Snyder himself might have factored to that. We were just coming into that mindset, and I feel that just coming out of the movie, we actually got a bit of optimism for once. We actually just, despite all the bad shit that we had to sit through in the first half, we got what we always wanted out of Zack Snyder inhaling a DC movie for so long that like coming out of me, and I'm just like at that point where again, I would rather watch an old movie than any new piece of media nowadays. It leaves me hoping for something to come out of DC and with Warner Brothers and from with how they handle this through HBO Max. And yeah, back to the Ratatouille thing. Zack Snyder. I mean, the thing is with Zack Snyder is that with a lot of these filmmakers that he was inspired by while he was doing DC, he wanted to become one of those people. But the thing is that he doesn't really have the merit or the chops to do that. So a good like not everybody can be a good filmmaker, but from where he was coming from in postmortem with losing his daughter Autumn, and the fact that he was given this second chance, especially at this time where unfortunately we can't really experience movies again in the cinema, and we're at this post COVID climate where streaming platforms are really becoming the norm. Um, a good movie that um, we longed for since the days where he was. It seemed like he was going to be hot and talk big game after 300. I'm happy that we actually got that, and I think, well, we got Army of the Dead coming up on Netflix. That hopefully this leads into a future where Zack Snyder can bring us back to the days where it seemed like Snyder was going to be this good filmmaker.
The Snyder Renaissance is coming. Well, he may have lost Autumn, but I feel like Zack Snyder's coming into spring. And so I think those are very appropriate words. That we are cynical, and it's easy to be cynical, and I'm victim of it too. And I think Snyder does reflect sort of a cynicism that we have. Um, and I guess I am happy that I feel less cynical right now than I typically do. And I think it's a time for us to come together. I really do. I so at least I can agree with Zach on that. You could say this about him. He's never been Me Too'd, and I've never really heard anyone say anything bad about him. So I mean, Hollywood's filled with all these pieces of shit that make good stuff, but I mean, like Joss Whedon, I think's more talented than Zack Snyder, but he's like this piece of shit apparently. So I mean, at least Zack seems like a nice guy. Yeah. And I know he like kind of shit on Disney recently for the Star Wars movie, so there's that. So I mean, maybe Zack will join like the
deservedly so.
Yeah, exactly. He just said like they don't care about the fans, and I think he cares about his fans.
Yeah.
I don't know if he cares about DC fans in general, but I think he cares about Snyder fans. So I'll give him that. I guess he did, but like I said, he seems like a nice guy. I mean, really, like yeah. I've never heard anything bad about Zack. I think he speaks very poorly when he talks about his stuff and when he tries to defend the stuff that he's done. I think he is immature. Very much so. Yeah. I think having Batman say "I would fucking kill you" is about as immature as it gets. But I'm pretty immature too. Do you believe that Zack was held at gunpoint to say what he said on GG? I do think there was we didn't even talk about that. I do think there was some publicist involved with that because he was starting to talk about the Star Wars stuff. He had connections with the fandom. Where Jeremy messed up with that, and it's just going to be something YouTubers are going to have to learn. If you're not corporate YouTube, like if you're not a Screen Junkies, if you're not, a Collider, if you're not those people, if you're like an independent YouTuber who says hardcore stuff, and you think that these people in Hollywood are going to associate with you, Like they canceled Gina Carano and she went to Ben Shapiro. Like, but Ben Shapiro's an empire at this point. He's not just something. He's turned into like a media empire.
Yeah.
If you think these guys are just gonna come on and be your friend when a studio's telling you like, "Hey, we don't like these people," I mean, the biggest mistake you made was even just letting Snyder come into his space, and then Snyder did what he did, and then they didn't just like, if Zack Snyder came on my stream and he was calling me racist and shit, I would go off on the guy. It's like if Ryan Johnson came on a live stream, I wouldn't be nice to him.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be cordial with these people when they're not going to treat you with respect. So you can't. This is what always worries me about YouTubers. This is what happens always. Howard Stern's a perfect example of this, where like for years Howard Stern fans, we thought he was like the outsider, and he got the serious deal, and it was like he's the one that was going to tell like PC culture to F off. And now he's part of, I mean, he likes Ellen DeGeneres' stupid dancing. He goes to Jennifer Aniston's wedding. He hits celebrities. He does softball interviews. He interviews Maroon 5 and I mean, it's like he always wanted to be part of that, but he had to be controversial to get in there. A lot of these YouTubers that I think people are getting behind, and they're like, "Oh man, yeah, you're a YouTuber. You're edgy. You're like." Don't be shocked if any of them would sell out in a heartbeat. The fame whore thing doesn't change. And I'm not even saying as a criticism. I don't have a problem with somebody wanting to be famous. But what I fear is that instead of embracing what this platform is and what we could do on this platform as a new medium that they can't possibly do, that you can have influence on here. You can be like Joe Rogan and have that kind of influence. But even he went to Spotify and took the money. A lot of these YouTubers, they want to be part of this. They could say like, "Oh, screw these guys," but then they would be the first people to go work for Disney and be part of the system. And I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of these people, this is what they want. They want some sort of validation, or they feel like they're above YouTube and they're like waiting for that thing to happen, And I think Jeremy kind of fell into that. I think he fell into a trap where he thought, "Oh, I'm going to get Zack Snyder on a live stream and it's going to be huge. And it's going to take my channel to the next level." And then it blew up in his face because, you're playing with fire, and it's really dangerous to think that these people are just going to embrace this new medium or just take you in and like let you be part of it unless you're going to play by their rules. And I mean, it's stupid. It's something you really shouldn't do. It's a big mistake. He shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have reacted the way he did to it. I think Jeremy's a really nice guy. I've only interacted with him that one time on the High Council, but I will say, out of everyone in that High Council, we talked a bit before that High Council started, and we talked a bit after that High Council ended. I remember he even said like, "You can come on Geeks and Gamers anytime you want." He was a super nice guy. He was like the nicest guy out of the group, and they were all nice guys. Like Ethan was nice.
He seems nice.
But Jeremy was super nice to me because it was pretty rough how it went, and he was very considerate and nice. And I had a good time talking to him, and I thought he was a good dude. So I don't have anything negative to say about the guy really. I just think he I wouldn't.
He's not bringing people together.
I wouldn't trust Zack Snyder. I mean, that was his biggest mistake. I wouldn't trust Zack Snyder at all. And I think the fact that he thought, "Oh, I helped push the Snyder Cut movement and Zack's gonna know me and validate me and then be part of this thing and all that." It's like, I just think that was such a misguided way to go about it, man. It's just it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
it was a
it's like-
really unfortunate thing. It really made
It is.
It made Zack look bad, especially though, just because I feel like Zack Snyder, kind of how he talks, it seems like he leans kind of conservative on a lot of things, and he's kind of like seems a little closeted about it, because I've heard him talk about like PC stuff before, and I don't know what his politics are per se, like maybe economics he feels differently about these things, but I think when it comes to like content, I don't think Zack is PC.
No. I think
Oh no, definitely not.
Unlike Sir Roundhead Johnson, Zack Snyder is not one of the filmmakers who leans on, whatever,
The lefty.
whatever political group that
No.
he believes in, and I'm actually thankful that he's not like one of those filmmakers who pushes for PC or liberal culture or leftist politics, especially in his movies.
No, you
'Cause
kind of need a
even
couple
how
of
badly
people.
he handles the political stuff, and I know like there's a lot of geopolitical themes in Batman v Superman. It's so fucking nuanced compared to the wave of fucking political push that's been going on with the current age of media. So that's one thing I could probably appreciate Snyder on.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree, and what the heck happened? Hold on, sorry. I dropped my vape, and then it said like it had 7%. Okay, it's fixed now.
What kind of vape you smoking?
What do you mean? What kind of vape am I smoking?
I don't know, like what flavor? Because usually whenever people like
Oh,
vape, they talk about like the flavor they're smoking.
It smells very fruity.
That's just
Oh.
me. No, it's
Yeah.
it's called like Pink Wizard. And I don't really know what the fuck it is. But I'm
Yeah,
out of my own.
that doesn't make sense.
I usually smoke like dessert liquids. I like pancake or waffle or like donut or stuff like that, peanut butter or something. But I'm out of that liquid right now. My favorite's like cinnamon roll or like apple cinnamon. Stuff
Cinnamon
like...
Toast Crunch?
Yeah, that's a great one. That's like one of my favorites. But I'm out of that right now, so I kind of just had to go through my bottles and grab what I could. But yeah, I mean the Jeremy thing. Honestly, I found it all kind of funny. I mean, it's really funny
that
when
was
you
pretty
think about
funny.
it as a setup that like they did this charity thing and they had Zach come on a stream and then he shit on them as soon as he got on there. I mean,
So Zach on their stream?
yeah, they
On the
had.
Geeks and
I don't know if it was Geeks
Yeah,
and
it was
Gamers,
like-
but it was associated with them. I don't know if it was on his. It wasn't on his channel where it happened, right? It was on another guy's.
I don't think so. No, Zack Snyder's like, I don't like Geeks and Gamers. Okay, and I don't think I really trust him. So I think we need to heal and we need to come together. So Geeks and Gamers, not my friend, not a real guy.
No, and then it blew up because then like Jeremy did a stream that night. They got like 8,000 views. It was getting 8,000 viewers, which was his biggest stream, and he went on like this rant about it. And then Ethan Van Sciver was watching that stream and doing a stream about it. It just like turned. It had this like trickle down effect. And this is like right when the Snyder
Trickle down
Cut's,
economics.
yeah, this is right when the Snyder Cut's about to come out too. And it was just like, it was just bad PR all around. I don't even know why Zach went on there and did the whole thing if he was just gonna say that. I thought that was weird. But the question is, do you think, somebody asked me, it started with, do you think that this was like some influence? I wouldn't be surprised if somebody told Zack Snyder, you need to disassociate yourself with these guys. That wouldn't shock me at all. I'm pretty certain that's what happened.
I'm pretty sure some people on Twitter, they were talking about like, I think one of them was like, he wasn't really a big fan of Phantom Menace or like those guys. So I'm pretty sure he would agree with Zack Snyder there. And they all like this Snyder Cut, and they all they all love it from start to finish.
Of course they did. Of course these did.
Yeah, well, when we get Zach on our stream,
we should.
Yeah, we can get. I mean, if Jeremy can get him, we can get Zach. I would
Yeah,
love
why
to. I
not?
would love to talk to Zack Snyder right now. There's nothing I would want more.
Zack
in the
Snyder
world.
interview?
If he popped on the
Sorry.
stream right now, I would stay up for a day. I mean, I would have another cup of coffee. I mean, I want to ask him so much about the stuff in the last like half hour. Like, I just skipped
Papa
the first
Monster
two.
Energy?
Yeah, I would skip the first 2 hours. I wouldn't even, I maybe ask him about the hot dogs, but but I would want to be like, you got to tell me everything about what the fuck happened here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd really like to talk to Zach, but I don't think that's gonna happen, unfortunately. But the Snyder,
I hope it
interview-
happens.
Oh, it'd be the greatest thing ever. Are you kidding? I don't even care if anyone hears it. It's just for me. If he just says to me, "Hey, it's a private
Yeah.
call between the two of us, and no one can hear this," I'd be like, done.
Sure, for your eyes only, for your ears only.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Zack Snyder and Michael Bay, they were best buddies in film school. So when I
Yeah,
saw
they
the
went to
trailer,
the
though, was it
school.
Army of the Dead? Kind of reminded me of a Michael Bay movie.
Double interview, Bay and Snyder.
Yeah, you should get those two.
I
They
think
went
we
to
need
the same
the
film
Bay
school.
cut, so it could be 6 hours long.
Ooh.
The extended
Or
Bay cut.
what's that guy's name? What's that guy's name? He was trying to make, what is it, Dune? He was trying to make like
Oh,
12-hour Dune movie.
Oh, Jodorowsky?
Jodorowsky, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you can get Jodorowsky and you can make it 12 hours long.
All right, well,
Or
that's...
Lynch.
Oh, yeah, David Lynch's Snyder cut, please. But,
Oh Oh, that would be fucking awesome.
I mean, he made an 18-hour fucking movie like a couple years ago. Twin Peaks 3 was basically like an 18-hour movie. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up. I want to thank everyone who came on tonight, though. I thought everybody really contributed, and I think this was really healthy. And I like that we didn't really I don't think there was a lot of
Over each other.
We have a tendency sometimes on this stream, and I definitely push it where we get a little angry or we thrive.
Overdo it.
Yeah, but that whatever. I don't
Oh,
care.
it's actually charming. It's actually the best part of the stream.
I like
Or
it.
just randomly talking about stuff.
But everyone,
I do too.
Everyone was being really positive tonight, though, and listening to everybody. I think it had a good structure to it and everything. I liked what everyone had to say. It made me rethink some things maybe I thought and so on. And I hope that other people feel that same way about what we said. I hope that people were surprised that there was differing opinions. Mm-hmm. I know Dan wasn't here tonight. I was really worried Dan was going to be Jon Snow with the sword with all the horses running at him. But. But it didn't really work out that way. Everybody kind of said their piece about it, and I think it's a really good. I think this is honestly one of the best Snyder Cut reviews I've seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone who came on tonight did a great job, and I thank you everyone who tuned in for the stream and everyone who gave the super chats. It was great to have Madcap here in house. We have a podcast set up here right now. We're on around a table and shit like that. We should have filmed. This would have been cool. The camera.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, no, it's pretty chill. So. Pat,
I'm wearing my black Superman shirt for the stream, so.
Yeah, Madcap had on a Batman v Superman. What was it, a hoodie?
No, it was just a shirt I put over the hoodie. But yeah, it's just the Batman. Because Batman v Superman was known for their pretty good poster covers, the poster marketing that was plastered on many shirts. So I got the Batman with the Superman face taped over. I had this since
that was pretty cool.
I think is a big thing tonight. I have to do here. Zack Snyder is officially retired. Mm-hmm. He is no longer Zack Snyder. He is now back to Snyder. For the time being. By the time that zombie heist movie with zombie strippers comes out, he might go back to Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
that's up.
Army of the Dead.
Yeah, Army of the Dead. We might have to see that. But I'm retiring Zack Snyder. The meme, the please rewind Zack Snyder meme. Please stop using it. It's over. He's no longer Snyder.
All right. Nice.
We're going back to respect. That's what I'm giving you, Zach. You will be.
Hey, if he can keep his track record up with King Arthur, then that'll be good.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe I like what Madcap was saying. Maybe we're in a Zack Snyder renaissance. That would be fucking crazy. But things like that have happened before.
It's true.
So Snyder is retired. It is decided. So thank you, Rewinders. I will see you guys. There will be a part 2 to this at some point when I can schedule to get Dan and everyone else on. Madcap's going to say something.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. This was a good time. And yeah, I'm sure many of you have been surprised as I have been this whole night. But thanks again for tuning in. We should be back for more. And yeah, definitely check out our Revisiting Chronicle discussion. That
was a great video.
Thank you. There's going to be more, too. There's going to be more in that format.
Nice.
Where it's a long-form discussion about a movie from the 2000s.
Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully, you and I can do Tropic Thunder, because I watched that recently, and that's a great movie.
I would like to bring other people in for certain ones, yeah. Just because, we're probably going to be doing some more genre-based stuff. We want to talk about, Kick-Ass and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But,
Ooh, Kick-Ass is really good.
Yeah.
Oh. Damn right it is. But yeah. I mean, our conversation podcast is not solely for Madcap. We I'm sure Pat's gonna welcome anybody if there's a specific film from the past decade you guys want to talk about. That's totally open.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jack Reacher. Jack Reacher would be great to talk about.
Reacher, but you know what? You and Pat can definitely
greatest dad movie of the 2000s. Also.
Oh yeah, my dad and I love that movie.
We've also started a thing where we're watching movies together in the Discord. There's going to be a lot of Discord exclusive stuff coming up. We did this a few nights ago. So anyone listening to this, just stay on the Discord, join the Discord, and there's nights where people will be watching movies. I won't be there for all of them, but I showed up for the Justice League one the other night, and I stayed 3 hours afterwards and talked to everybody pretty much about whatever they want, and none of that stuff goes on YouTube, and it's more of a private conversation unless someone's recording it.
Ooh.
But yeah, if so, check out the Discord. There's going to be some times where we do stuff that's just the Discord, where we watch a movie together or we have conversations that I don't really want to like have you on YouTube, or we're going to do stuff where like we put something on Discord that will get a YouTube version. Because we really want to commit to this Discord thing and this live stream format. There might even start moving up to 2 live streams a week with the shorter live stream and maybe a longer one, and then one that's maybe only like an hour or something like that. But yeah, there will be like we might even start doing that podcast thing where there's going to be like a Discord. You can listen to the full version on Discord, and then there'll be like a YouTube version that'll be edited down. So keep up with the Discord, guys. Really push the Discord. Try to spread the word on the Discord. We're really leaning on that, and we want to build the community up in there, and the chat in there, and bringing people on the show and rotating them to come on and talk about everything, and hopefully get some guests on the show as
That'd be
time
cool.
goes on. Because I'm having a lot of fun with the live streams.
That is pretty. Yeah, that is fun.
So hopefully we can get some. Yeah, we can get some guests on, and
Oh yeah, definitely.
get some interviews.
Who'd you have in mind?
I mean, there's some YouTubers I have some connection with. I won't name now, but like there's some people that are a little bit bigger that I know through some other people. So I'm gonna see if I can try to get some people on. But right now would be a lot of the people I typically get on. I know Cordry wants to come on a night. And if we do that, it probably would be less people in the chat. I'll probably just keep it to like 3 or 4 of us, just because I want to let him be able to talk. David Stewart, I would like to rotate in at some point for a certain topic. I really love David Stewart.
Yeah, David Stewart's great.
I like to chat with him.
Yeah, I would like to bring David Stewart in for every time I've done a stream with David Stewart. It's just been like amazing, and
It's gold. Yeah.
and I pretty much like everything that guy says. He's just kind of a guy you can just let talk and you don't have to say shit. I'd like to
Exactly.
get Blood Money on at some point, but he's just been busy.
Yeah, that's true. Wild Smile?
I would love to do. Yeah, Wild Smile and me have talked a bit. He was gonna have me on his channel before for streams. We planned it, and then it was always like he wanted me to get on at like midnight or 1 in the morning, and the job I had back then, it was like impossible because I had to get up really early.
Yeah.
I know I've been brought up to Doomcock a few times on streams, and he's said a couple times. We have never talked. I would like that.
Nurkish, he was one. He was the guy who was one to bring you on, or thought about bringing you on, 'cause everybody wants you on.
Yeah, I know. That's what always kind of happens, is like you guys throw me out there. That happened with Mahler too, where everybody was telling Mahler to meet up with me, and then he followed me on Twitter, and we didn't really pursue it after that. I don't even think he's really
Yeah.
aware of me that much, but he did follow me on Twitter after that, and he did like a few things on he liked a
Yeah.
few of my tweets and stuff, so I don't really know what's going on with the Mahler thing. I think he might just be so big now that he's probably got like 1,000 people trying to get on his stuff
Yeah.
or talk
That's
to him.
true.
This was like a long time ago when Mahler wasn't
Yeah.
like as big. Now he's like, he's
That's
huge.
true.
Uh,
Sargon.
yeah, I know Sargon watches my channel. That's a weird one. He'll
Yeah.
randomly
Oh.
leave comments, and then I don't hear from him, and I'm like, although I don't know what means Sargon would talk. Although I actually kind of like what Sargon talks about movies. I wish he talked about movies more.
You know, 2 people I would mention. SWC Revived. Gianco could probably, I think he could vouch for them. They're really good. They like to ramble. They like to talk, and sometimes they'll kind of like get lost in like, different discussions. I think it would be really good. People Populous Press. That would be another good one. But that's really up to you.
Yeah, I think he was just saying that as a general, like in the future, doesn't really have
Yeah.
particular people in mind. But
Yeah, no.
I mean, I think we should definitely call it a night.
Yeah,
of course.
But I would say to the fans, if any of you want that stuff to happen, the only way it can happen is if you guys make it happen. Because if I message these guys or, stuff like that, that usually does not go very far. But if you guys request it enough, that's what happened with the High Council. They became aware of me because you guys mentioned me in like every stream. To the point that Jeff just was like, all right, dude, we got to talk, I guess, because people keep saying that we need to talk to each other. And so if you guys want, like, yeah, Doomcock or any of those people, just like put the word out there best you can, so at least they become aware of it, because I would like to That's the thing. They don't. I don't even have to go on their channels. Like if they don't want, but if they want to come here and just pop up on a live stream and just come talk for a little while or something like that, that would be fun and that'd be really cool.
That
And
would be cool.
it would be fun to get some different people rotated in here just for the sake of just keeping this thing fresh.
Yeah.
So we can turn it up. So yeah, you guys all do that. But yeah, we're gonna leave. Thank you. And I will see you guys for the next stream, which will either be the Snyder Cut Part 2, or we'll do something else, and then we'll do the Snyder Cut Part 2 like down the road.
Cool.
All right, bye guys.
Take care.
Bye.
See you later.
See ya.
later.
Good morning, good day, good night.